This young man today, along with his friend Dothap Tam, went to the National Esports Center to attend the welcoming event for the strongest fighter in Country H Park Hwan. Huang is an arrogant person who always thinks of himself as the champion, looking down on the Z Country players of Luke Tran, even openly calling them trash. To teach Park Han-wang a lesson, Dothap Tam used 2 hot pots to persuade Luke Tran to compete with him, even though Luke Tran had only been playing for 2 months. Just having mastered the rules of this game last night yet because of 2 hot pots, he boldly stepped onto the competition stage with Park Han-kwang, and what no one expected was that. Luke Tran knocked Park Han-kwang out without any difficulty and won decisively. When reporters interviewed him after the match, Luke Tran did not hide the fact. Today is the first time I play this game. As a true newbie, this fact made Park Han-kwang even more humiliated. How could a player considered the strongest fighter in Country H lose to a first-year student who just started playing? That day, Luke Tran shattered Park Han-kwang's pride and restored the dignity of Country Z amidst the cheers of the audience. He ascended to become the new king of the game called Battle Armor. After that match, Luke Tran also became a rising star in the esports industry, with a series of records and top rankings successfully entering the Hall of Fame. Unfortunately, heaven often envies the talented. While Luke Tran stood proudly at the peak of glory, he encountered a traffic accident, and after that accident, he was lucky to survive. However, his cranial nerves were severely damaged and hard to recover. When focusing, Luke Tran's reflexes would be delayed by 3 seconds. This usually does not affect daily life, but for Luke Tran, a professional gamer, it had a significant impact. From then on, his ranking continuously plummeted. In the blink of an eye, Luke Tran fell from the top rank to below 100. Those who once feared him now openly mocked him whenever they encountered him in the game. Today the headache hit again. Luke Tran thought about going to sleep to end it all, but while standing up, he accidentally saw something under the table. It was the virtual reality headset for the game Heavenly Strike, specially made for members of the Hall of Fame, which the Nguyen Hang group had sent not long ago. Luke Tran had been hunted for so long that he forgot he was a member of the Hall. Fame always. Out of curiosity, he decided to explore this new game. The moment the gaming headset powered on, Luke Tran felt as if he were swimming in a sea of data. The virtual reality technology of the Nguyen Hang group is indeed advanced. Soon after, Luke Tran stepped into the temple, welcoming new players, feeling a sense of reality, as if he had truly just set foot in a luxurious palace. Even the stone pillars in the temple had a realistic texture. Welcoming Luke Tran to the temple, a clear voice rang out, "Hello, I am System Spirit 01. The tiny spirit appeared before Luke Tran, representing the Heavenly Strike system. Through the verification system, it recognized him as a member of the Hall of Fame. In Region Z, players who are members of the Hall of Fame have the privilege of receiving a dedicated ID, and Luke Tran could continue using his old ID. As a member of the Hall of Fame, to be honest, the name Luke Tran had become the biggest joke in the hall, so Luke Tran did not want to see it again at all. He changed to a different name called Chu Kich Tram Sa to start anew. Chu Kich Tram Sa means iron that has not been forged must sharpen itself to become better. Luke Tran was very satisfied with the meaning of this name. After confirming the ID, the system allowed him to choose a race and profession. 10 basic professions were presented before him, and this time Luke Tran contemplated for a long time. He did not know which profession suited him better, a knight with strong action or a warrior balanced in both offense and defense. While Luke Tran was still hesitating, the system suddenly displayed another notification that the virtual reality gaming headset would automatically take a blood sample from him. To check his health status with a very small needle on the left side of the helmet after that accident, Luke Tran was very afraid of getting his blood drawn, so his whole body trembled uncontrollably. After completing the blood sample collection, the system quickly returned the health check results, and what was puzzling was that all of Luke Tran's indicators were flashing red. For example, his heart rate was lower than 30% of a normal person's, and his temperature was also 70% below the standard. His brainwave response exceeded 120% compared to the standard of a normal person, and most importantly, Luke Tran's signs of life were only at 50%. This situation made him extremely anxious. What was happening here? Could it be that his VIP gaming helmet was just an empty shell? That night, a blinding red light emanated from Luke Tran's room in the apartment, along with the screams of a young man. "Damn it, don't mess with me like this." However, Luke Tran's alarming physical condition helped him unlock a hidden profession as a death spirit swordsman. Indeed, in adversity lies opportunity. The Death Spirit Swordsman is the strongest warrior in the underworld, a descendant of the Tula Divine race, wielding the power of the four spirits, and is the ruler of all beasts. Luke Tran never thought he would have such unexpected luck. With no reason to refuse the profession of Death Spirit, Swordsman Luke Tran quickly logged into the game after confirming his class. He woke up in the newbie village feeling like a defeated, abandoned person filled with a burning desire for revenge. Luke Tran appeared in the form of a skeleton. Moreover, it was a skeleton that crawled up from the ground. Luke Tran was very disgusted. Why did he have to start the game looking so ridiculous? Did this appearance resemble the cool Death Spirit Swordsman at all? The system seemed to read Luke Tran's thoughts and explained that this skeletal form. This is the training state of the Death Spirit Swordsman. Luke Tran couldn't complain anymore. After all, it was a special hidden profession. A skull was still a skull. The one welcoming him was the village chief of the newbie village, a necromancer named Nap Y. Van. After the shocking greeting, Luke Tran's inventory had an additional item gifted by the village chief. It was a dagger. Luke Tran took the new weapon to the radish garden to fight against the level 2 rabbit spirits here with the health bar of these little monsters. He only needed to swing once to finish them off. But Luke Tran's biggest problem was the 3-second delay in processing information, so he decided to use a strategy to calculate his opponent's moves in advance. He swung his sword 3 seconds early. The scenario looked great, but when Luke Tran practiced, he completely missed, and the rabbit spirits kicked him painfully. Swinging the sword 3 seconds early didn't work. Then let me try slowing down. Luke Tran tried swinging the sword 2 seconds early, but still missed. He tried 1 second early and still missed, but when he timed it at 0.9 seconds, the attack worked. Indeed, it wasn't because the rabbits were fast. It was due to Luke Tran's delayed reflexes improving. Although he ultimately got kicked back to the respawn point by those low-level rabbit spirits, he still felt incredibly happy. President of the Thap-Tam truck, the #1 swordsman in the chaotic world, I'm back. Luke Tran carried his sword back to the radish garden once again on his way. He kept wondering why his reflex delay had dropped to 0.9 seconds instead of the 3 seconds the doctor mentioned. Luke Tran's mind was spinning, feeling like he had forgotten something. Many fragmented images appeared in his mind, from the sports car being smashed at the front, the blood-stained baseball bat to the image of Quan Vu. All these things seemed unrelated. Luke Tran was puzzled as they suddenly appeared in his mind. He also remembered the doctor saying that his nervous system might recover on its own. At that time, Luke Tran thought it was just a comforting statement to keep him from losing hope, but based on the current situation, it seemed that what the doctor said was beginning to come true. It seems you still need to go to the hospital for a follow-up, but for now we have to deal with those cunning rabbits first. I remind you to attack the neck of the rabbits, as that is their biggest weakness. Lu Chen obediently followed this advice and calculated that the delay time was 0.9 seconds. He quickly turned the situation around, and with the reduced delay time, Lu Chen felt very refreshed. The more he fought, the more enthusiastic he became, hoping that in the future, this delay would completely disappear and he would once again reach the peak of fame. After Lu Chen had slaughtered the entire carrot garden, he suddenly caught a glimpse of a strange creature. Upon closer inspection, it was another player who was in-game tonight, looking a bit cold as he was being beaten so badly. Lu Chen had already guessed what would appear next. It must be the boss of the carrot garden. Sure enough, not long after, the massive level 10 rabbit appeared, holding another player by the leg and lifting him upside down. The big-eared rabbit king was a muscular beast, very hot-tempered, ruling over the entire carrot garden. Compared to Lu Chen's mobile skeleton, its muscles were indeed on another level. The young player who looked a bit lonely tonight was thrown away like a rocket at that moment. Tonight's cold one was also used by Lu Chen as a shield. The two brothers charged straight at each other, immediately clasping hands and heading back to the respawn point. They could go with peace of mind. "Let me take revenge for you two," Lu Chen said nonchalantly. After dealing with the two unrelated ones, he focused on the main issue. This was the first time Lu Chen faced a boss. After the delay reflex was reduced, it was hard to suppress the excitement. He gripped the sword tightly, ready to confront the enemy. Unexpectedly, the Rabbit King had a weapon as well. Seeing Lu Chen draw his sword, it quickly donned a pair of sharp bear claws, looking like a gangster. Lu Chen began to feel the pressure, but he still forced himself to calm down. The opponent must be using a high-speed melee attack method, and the best way to deal with such an opponent was to use stillness to counter movement. While the opponent attacked, he had to dodge and find an opening. Just as Lu Chen thought of this, the Rabbit King launched an attack. Indeed, its speed was very fast, and Lu Chen couldn't dodge in time. However, what he didn't anticipate was that with just this first move, the rabbit took away 25% of his health. While he was still in shock, the system's simulation window appeared again, bringing a notification about the immortality trait of the undead before his health ran out. The undead swordsman could quickly recover damaged bones, maintaining the perfect state of his skeleton. However, health could not be restored. Lu Chen read it twice, and still didn't understand what the system was talking about. If he couldn't recover health, then why call it immortality? But this didn't matter much. By dealing with this gangster rabbit, if one of its hits took away 25% of his health, then how much damage could his full-force strike deal to the opponent? Lu Chen used all his strength to unleash a blow, but unfortunately it only dealt 8 points of damage to the opponent. He quickly retreated. It seemed this guy was quite tough. Not only did he possess godly speed and excel in attacks, but even his defense was very solid. Lu Chen chose a safe distance to retreat. Just as his feet touched the ground, the rabbit charged at him aggressively once again. This was within Lu Chen's calculations. Taking advantage of its charge, he smoothly slashed straight at the opponent's critical weakness, the neck. However, he was even more surprised to find that beneath the rabbit's fur was a layer of iron armor. It was just a boss of low-level minions, after all. Did it really need to be this exaggerated? The Rabbit King, enraged by Lu Chen's counterattack, smashed a nearby tree in half with a punch. Lu Chen nervously swallowed. If he took a direct hit like this, his bones would probably shatter. In this situation, it was really hard to find the breakthrough point. The rabbit's biggest weakness was already protected by iron armor. Based on the damage taken by both sides, the Rabbit King could withstand attacks for several more rounds, but if Lu Chen took another hit, he would be done for. He hadn't even thought of a way to resolve this. Meanwhile, the opponent seemed to be going crazy. He used his bare hands to uproot a willow tree by the roadside, and then swung this tree straight at Lu Chen, making it difficult to strike a terrifying opponent like that rabbit. However, Lu Chen wasn't weak enough to be crushed by a tree. He immediately took out his combo attack to deal with the willow tree, but unfortunately, while Lu Chen was busy breaking the tree, the Rabbit King took this opportunity to sneak attack Lu Chen, not thinking that such a large creature could be so clever. However, as it charged forward, it accidentally got hit in the eye by a shard of the broken tree, instantly causing a damage of 20 health points, and Lu Chen found a breakthrough from this. It seemed that the eyes were indeed the opponent's weakness. Focusing on this issue distracted Lu Chen, and he got punched. Luckily, he managed to lower his chin in time to follow the direction of the punch. The punch wasn't direct, so he only lost 15 health points. But just as Lu Chen was about to rejoice, the opponent quickly punched him again, this time right in the ribs. The sound of bones cracking took away another 40 health points, and Lu Chen was sent flying by the Rabbit King, crashing straight into a nearby tree. Right now, he only had a mere 5 health points left. This collision had created a large hole in the tree trunk, with Lu Chen's upper body stuck inside, only his 2 legs dangling outside. The Rabbit King had no intention of resting for a second. Seeing the opponent stuck in the tree hollow, it charged forward like an arrow, intending to deliver a final deadly blow. But when the Rabbit King's fist was thrown, Lu Chen disappeared from the hollow. Its arm was held tight by the vines inside the tree hollow, while Lu Chen had gently slipped out of there. It seemed that this mobile skeleton shape was sometimes quite convenient due to its small body size. So when sneaking through tight spaces, it was very easy. "Hey, little rabbit, I'm over here." Lu Chen sat comfortably on a branch, proudly saying, "Do you like the gift I prepared for you?" This dry tree was full of tangled vines. Once wrapped up, it would be very hard to escape. The Rabbit King kept struggling, but Lu Chen knew that the more it struggled, the tighter the vines would wrap around it. The only way to escape this situation was to destroy the whole tree. However, Lu Chen would not give it that opportunity. He firmly held the dagger and jumped down from the branch, stabbing the blade straight into the boss's eye, dealing 100 damage points. Indeed, the eye was the opponent's critical weakness. The Rabbit King was left with just over half of its health, but the headache was that Lu Chen's strike had put it into a state of rage, reducing its defense speed by 50%. However, its attack power increased by 50%. Despite this, Lu Chen wasn't too worried, facing an opponent that was blind and had reduced speed and defense. No matter how strong the attack was, what good would it do? Although he was delayed by 0.9 seconds in reflexes, he could still take control in this situation. In the end, Lu Chen successfully defeated the big-eared Rabbit King. He directly leveled up to level 4 and simultaneously received the loot dropped by the boss, which was a chest armor that increased health by 20 points and defense by 9 points. Along with that was a large magic stone. If used for trading with merchants, it could be exchanged for a certain amount of gold. Lu Chen quickly put on the armor to cover his bony body. The boss loot only had 2 items, but the level-up reward also included 10 free attribute points that Lu Chen could use to increase 4 of his attributes. The life attribute of Lu Chen had just increased by 20 points due to the armor, so he didn't need the 10 points right now. He was momentarily unsure of how to allocate them. While Lu Chen was still in a daze, he suddenly heard a loud scream. He looked down from the tall tree and saw 2 players running frantically as if being chased by a ghost. These 2 seemed somewhat familiar. They were the 2 young men he had seen earlier tonight, feeling a bit cold and a bit lonely, but why were they here? Tran jumped down from the Tao tree, and upon seeing you, the duo of the night, he exclaimed, "Heaven's green beans! First, there are the undead, and now the mad dragon. Is the heavens trying to eliminate evil? It seems they are being chased by someone." Fortunately, Tran has no intention of opposing these 2. He even helped them block an arrow from the enemy. "You 2 hurry and go, leave this to me." Tran shooed the 2 young men away as if driving off evil spirits. In truth, he wasn't worried about their lives. He was just quite interested in the one chasing them, an archer, based on the arrow just now. It was evident that the shooting speed of that person was very fast, but the trajectory was somewhat simple. With Tran's current reaction speed, those arrows couldn't touch him at all. The opponent was a level 7 archer in-game, a little flower of the Mad Dragon Guild. This guy looked quite impressive, but his ID was quite silly. The bow in the little flower's hand was continuously drawn back, seemingly furious that Tran could dodge all his attacks, a mere trash skull. Level 5 and still playing the savior. The little flower cursed while unleashing his ultimate move called Whirlwind Flame Arrow. Although this was his strongest technique, it still couldn't trouble Tran. After all, he was a gaming genius and was now aware of his own 0.9-second delay, allowing him to handle the situation very smoothly. Regarding the Whirlwind Flame Arrow, Tran didn't even bother to dodge, but faced it head-on and neutralized it. The little flower gritted his teeth and reached for another arrow. He was about to attack once more, but he had no idea how Tran had done it. In the blink of an eye, he appeared behind him, and the opponent was right behind him. What happened next was easy to guess without thinking. Tran kindly said a farewell, and then swung his sword, sending the little flower back to the respawn point. After all, archers were long-range attack classes. They had always been a fragile, paper-thin types, and in close combat they usually couldn't withstand a single blow. After sending the little flower off the ground beneath Tran suddenly shook violently. The birds in the forest were startled and flew off in all directions. What was this commotion? Surely it wasn't a newbie player in combat, right? The tremors grew more intense, and Tran guessed that the people in the Mad Dragon Guild were clearing the surrounding area to surround the boss, which was why the little flower had chased after those 2 brothers. Unfortunately for him tonight, he had failed, and let a fish slip through the net, which was Tran. Out of curiosity, Tran ventured deep into the Divine Light Forest, and indeed there was a fight happening. On one side was a level 15 green king cockroach that had lost half its health, and on the other were the newbie players, led by a guy named Long Han Tien Ha, level 9, a night class. Though he was said to be leading in reality, Long Han Tien Ha didn't directly engage. Instead, he used money to overwhelm the monsters. He promised that everyone here, whoever dealt a single drop of blood to the boss, would be rewarded 50 coins. This willingness to spend by Long Han Tien Ha left Tran dumbfounded. 1 drop of blood equals 50 coins, and the remaining 1,200 drops of blood from the Green King cockroach was equivalent to 60,000 coins. Spending so much money just to deal with a level F boss, was this rich guy out of his mind? The newbies here were all slaves to money. They shouted slogans for Long and charged forward for the Mad Dragon Guild, but in reality, their high spirits were only because of the money. The soaring spirit is all just for money. However, even though the Green Cockroach King is only a level F boss, it is still not easy to deal with for a newbie at all. The casualty rate is increasing even compared to the big-eared Rabbit King that Tran just defeated. It seems even more terrifying. He feels that the others are just a bunch of weaklings. The remnants of the Crazy Dragon Guild also struggle to hold out, but Long Han Tien Ha seems unaware of this. Even though the casualties are increasing, he still demands his members not to stop reminding them to coordinate and position themselves to lure the boss into attacking first. While it is focused on launching an attack, they should strike back using the boss's time-freezing skill to hit once and then retreat without stopping. The more Luke Tran listened, the more he found what Longhan Tianha said annoying. Obviously, even a newbie could think of that. Then what is this supposed to be a strategy? The important thing is that attacking mindlessly like this will only cause more harm to themselves. Such a simple thing could it be that the rich kid hasn't thought of it. Luke Tran found it somewhat unreasonable. He leaned towards the idea that Long Han Thien Ha wanted to use others' lives to slowly whittle down the boss's health. A series of numbers began to form in Luke Tran's mind. Each person who dies is compensated 300 dong. If they are downgraded, they will receive an additional 500 dong. The Crazy Dragon Guild has 50 members, and if they are all sent back to the respawn point and downgraded, the total would be 40,000 dong. After adding the bonus for reducing the boss's health, Longhan Thien Ha would have to spend up to 100,000 dong for a level F boss. Is it really worth it with the mindset of a bystander? Luke Tran still crouched in a corner, meticulously observing this battle with Longhan Thien Ha's strategy of using meat shields against the boss. The health of the Green Cockroach King did decrease, albeit slowly. A team of archers he had positioned on the outer circle began to attack simultaneously. After this wave of attacks, they took away quite a bit of the boss's health. Longhan Thien Ha was visibly delighted. The archers shot well. When the boss was left with just a bit of health, he stopped the attack to prepare for the finishing blow, clicking his tongue. No wonder this kid is about to reach level 10 at the early stage of the game. It seems he has always used the strategy of exchanging money for the opportunity to finish off the boss. However, the lowest health phase of the boss is always the most challenging. As expected, the Green Cockroach King entered a berserk state, growing 6 arms with attack power and speed increasing by 100% and defense also increased by 50%. The situation seemed unfavorable for the Crazy Dragon Guild, but the mercenaries, bought off with money, still rushed forward. They all wanted to whittle down a bit more health from the boss. Conversely, they would receive a bit more money. Longhan Thien Ha timed it perfectly until the Green Cockroach King's health bar was exactly at 1 point. He then made his move, but this rich kid would never have dreamed that a stranger would steal the boss's life just as his weapon was about to reach the king. He was knocked back by Luke Tran. He had been standing there not just to watch. With his extensive experience and superior talent, he was far beyond Longhan Thien Ha. He successfully prevented him from taking the boss's life. Long Dai Thiujia's face alternated between green and white. He was so angry that the veins on his forehead twitched incessantly. "Who are you?" Longhan Thien Ha hissed each word. "Me, I'm just an ordinary passerby." Luke Tran replied nonchalantly, his tone very casual. Just earlier, he had encountered many players being chased away by the Crazy Dragon Guild, so he wanted to seek justice for them. "Isn't your purpose just to seize the opportunity to kill the boss from me?" Longhan Thien Ha sneered. "I just want to cleanse the game environment." Luke Tran showed no signs of embarrassment. "But arguing back and forth like this is enough. But arguing back and forth like that is enough already. Longhan Thien Ha, how could I forgive someone who has touched my belongings, especially when it was something he spent a lot of money to collect?" Longhan Thien Ha launched an attack from the side. Meanwhile, the Green Cockroach King was also struggling with its last bit of strength. Luke Tran was caught between two sides but remained calm whether it was Longhan Thien Ha or that boss. They were all about to meet their end, and this so-called struggle would only hasten their demise. Luke Tran took just a second to stab his sword through Longhan Thien Ha's chest, sending him back to the resurrection point to go home and practice his skills, young master. Relying solely on money won't get you far. Before Longhan Thien Ha completely vanished, Luke Tran kindly reminded him as a senior in the field. Luke Tran knew with a personality like that of a young master. After he resurrected, he would definitely bring a group to deal with him, so he had to speed up the boss fight. Just at that moment, the rage state of the Green Cockroach King had ended. Its speed was reduced by 150%, defense decreased by 100%, and attack power dropped by 200%. Luke Tran only needed to use a normal attack. He could already defeat the opponent. Although his eye sockets were empty, Luke Tran's eyes seemed to be shining now. He was very eager to see the rewards dropping from the boss, but what awaited him was a bright red warning from the system that his life points were too low compared to the limit. This forced him to exit the game. Fortunately, the system still had some humanity, as it would automatically save the experience and equipment Luke Tran had gained after defeating the boss. And so Luke Tran was exiting the game with a very unwilling mood. Just as he took off his gaming headset, there was a rapid knocking at the door. Luke Tran thought it might be a thief or something. He grabbed a baseball bat and went to open the door, but to his surprise, it was Du Thaptam, who looked very flustered. What was he doing here at this hour? Luke Tran was confused and asked. Of course he was worried about him. Du Thaptam was out of breath, looking like he had just run at full speed to get here. I sent you a message earlier, but you didn't reply, and you didn't answer the phone either. Just as Du Thaptam was about to finish his sentence, he looked up and was startled by Luke Tran's current appearance. He screamed and fell backward. "Oh my God, there's a zombie!" Seeing Luke Tran's bewildered expression, Du Thaptam quickly pulled out his phone to show him what he looked like now. Even the victim was astonished and fell back because on his face there were many spots that looked like skin was peeling, and those marks were even moving. This was something only found on a corpse with a cloud-like pattern. Moreover, the marks were changing rapidly and spreading down from his eye sockets. Du Thaptam said seriously, "It's only 2 in the morning, you shouldn't be playing around like this. It must just be some kind of skin allergy." Du Thaptam was not joking, the phenomenon occurring on Luke Tran's body at that moment. It was exactly like the forensic records at his house. Luke Tran was feeling dizzy, exhausted, and confused by the spotted marks on his body, so he quickly fainted. Du Thaptam then carried him to the emergency room of People's Hospital No. 4, where the head of the department, Du Trung, was his father. After a thorough examination, Dr. Du confirmed that. Du Thaptam then carried him to the emergency room of People's Hospital No. 4, where the head of the department, Du Trung, is his father. After a while of examination, Dr. Du confirmed that. The traces on Luke Tran's body were indeed a rash. Throughout his medical career, he had never encountered a patient alive with such a condition, which made Do Trung Keen anxious. He requested the nurse to take a blood sample from Luke Tran, while also ordering many more tests. After analyzing his blood sample, he became even more troubled because there was a large virus present in his blood. It exceeded current scientific knowledge, but the strange thing was, not only did they not destroy the healthy cells in Luke Tran's body, but they were also working to restore the damaged cells, although there were too many damaged cells in Luke Tran's body. This led to a slowdown in his blood circulation. The areas severely lacking blood supply in his body were the core reason for the rash appearing all over him, but those rashes were not the most serious issue. If Luke Tran's blood circulation continued to slow down, it might stop altogether, and the outcome at that point was probably something everyone could guess. He would have to return to his ancestors. Seeing Luke Tran's dejected mood, Do Trung Kin quickly comforted him. "Don't be discouraged. Modern medicine has advanced a lot. I believe there will be a way. The procedure has been prepared. First, let's check if this virus has any other effects on your body." "Yes, sir." "Thank you, Uncle." "No need to be polite, just call me Uncle. Have you encountered anything strange in the past few days?" Luke Tran pondered for a few seconds at Do Trung Kin's question. He indeed had experienced some strange occurrences. However, everything was very vague, so in the end, Luke Tran decided not to mention it. He entered the procedure room and began the imaging process. Outside, Du Thaptam's mood was still as hot as fire. "Dad, just now. Are you suspecting that old man 6 is hiding something?" Du Trung Kin shook his head. In fact, he just wanted to confirm a bit because it was highly likely that Luke Tran himself couldn't remember what had happened to him, which was a protective mechanism of the brain. In other words, Luke Tran had developed post-traumatic stress disorder and had forced himself to forget some events that occurred in the past, but looking at Luke Tran's current blood circulation speed, Du Trung Kin was sure that he must have suffered a severe trauma before even having nearly died once. Luke Tran's current situation was not promising at all. Du Trung Kin urged his son to quickly inform Luke Tran's family to witness the scene of their best friend in such a life-and-death situation. Du Thaptam's mood was extremely bad. Meanwhile, in another development, the rashes on Luke Tran's face were slowly disappearing, and he suddenly felt a warm energy enveloping him in his haze. When the imaging process was completed, Do Trung Kin called for his son to quickly move Luke Tran to another imaging room while he went to get the films. But as soon as he stepped inside, Du Thaptam couldn't help but scream because all the rashes on Luke Tran's body had completely disappeared. Du Trung Kin was astonished, having lived for more than half his life. This was the first time he had witnessed such an unscientific scene. "Little 6, how do you feel now?" Tran honestly recounted that while being imaged, he suddenly felt a warm current in his body, and then the headache was gone. Now he didn't feel any discomfort anymore. The more Du Trung Kin heard, the more unbelievable it seemed. He held Tran's face and kept shaking it left and right to check. This is too surreal. Your face is normal again. Your hands are normal. Your pupils are normal. Could it be that just through one imaging session, all the rashes disappeared for real? In Du Trung Kin's eyes, Tran at that moment seemed like a rare animal that had escaped from its cage. Although it was late at night, he was so excited that he had to drag him to the lab at all costs. And so it was. Tran had to stay in Du Trung's lab for another 3 hours. When he came out, his face was pale, and he had no strength left, needing Du Thap Tam to help him walk. Du Trung was just short of performing surgery on him for research purposes. Tran's exhaustion was also because he had drawn out 800 cc of his blood for the experiment. After 3 hours of struggling, Du Trung confirmed that the X-ray has the effect of suppressing the virus, which is why Tran's symptoms disappeared after the X-ray. The mood of the father and son of the Du family had improved a bit because now they just needed to find the X-ray. With the right wavelength for treatment, Tran would definitely be able to recover. The clock struck 6 in the morning, and Du Thap Tam helped Tran to the sofa for him to rest temporarily. He then went to buy breakfast. Tran was so tired that he didn't even feel like responding, looking at his soft, smooth hands as if they had never been harmed. He felt very puzzled. Du Trung said he had experienced serious injuries, but why did he have no impression of it at all? Not long after, Du Thap Tam returned with a bag of breakfast in hand. He also brought along a story he had just overheard. Old Six had a beautiful woman driving a sports car arguing with the security guard, right in front of the building's gate. The beautiful woman had a sports bandage wrapped around her head, looking fierce as if she had come here to catch a mistress. Should we go down and see the excitement a bit? Tran heard the words beautiful woman. With the bandage and the sports car, his head started to throb. Du Thap Tam, did you manage to take a picture? Du Thap Tam loved gossiping the most, so he indeed took a picture. After seeing the photo, Tran's head spun again because it was the president of the Water First Association. The chaotic and fragmented memories in his head gradually became clear and were pieced together. Tran finally remembered everything. Last night, after the first date with the Water First Association, he had died. The great beauty that Du Thap Tam captured was none other than the Water First Association, whose real name is Ha Nga. The moment Tran recalled everything was also when Ha Nga had chased to the place and knocked on the door frantically. Du Thap Tam was so startled that he dropped his phone. Although he didn't understand what was going on, he felt that Ha Ng's tone was not very friendly. Well, if the two of them knew each other, let me go open the door. You two can talk directly to each other. As he spoke, Du Thap Tam stood up and walked toward the door. Tran immediately became panicked. Du Thap Tam, wait, don't open the door, Tran said while reaching for Du Thap Tam, resulting in him falling flat on the ground. His whole body was still trembling from the aftermath of having 800 cc of blood drawn by Du Trung. I have something to say to you. Tran's voice was so small and weak that Du Thap Tam couldn't even hear it. Outside, Hung-hee was still frantically banging on the door, shouting and screaming, making Du Thap Tam anxious. Just as he was about to turn the doorknob, Hung-hee aggressively burst in. Tran, Hung-hee's eyes darted around to find Tran's whereabouts. Du Thap Tam pretended to be ignorant, saying that she had gone to the wrong room. As for who Tran was, he didn't know, but Hung-hee was not someone easy to fool, especially since she had just heard Tran's voice inside. Regardless of Du Thap Tam's attempts to stop her, she still rushed around looking for her beloved. Finally, Hung-hee charged straight into the bedroom. Tran was hiding behind the wardrobe in this room. Oh no, Tran thought to himself. Thap Tam, oh Thap Tam, didn't I ask you to find a way for her to leave? Damn it, Tran thought. Thap Tam, oh Thap Tam, wasn't I the one who asked you to find a way for her to leave on her own? Why did you let her sneak into the bedroom like that? The vine was getting closer and closer to the cabinet door, constantly blaming why Lu Chen was avoiding him, while Lu Chen didn't even dare to breathe loudly. However, when the vine's hand reached for the cabinet door handle, Du Thap Tam quickly shouted that Lu Chen was dead. The hands of the artist froze and then began to tremble, unable to believe it. Lu Chen couldn't possibly die like this. You must be lying to me, I'm 100% sure. If you don't believe me, you can go to People's Hospital number 4 and check the forensic report. Dr. Du Thap Tam said it with certainty. Indeed, this method was effective. The artist trembled for a long time before bursting into tears, cursing Lu Chen as a scoundrel and running outside. Once her figure had disappeared, Duthap Tom dared to open the wardrobe door where Lu Chen was sitting in a heap inside. He looked so dazed and foolish. Back at the hospital, I naively thought that just using X-rays for treatment would restore my body to that of a normal person. But after the memory lock was broken, I wasn't even sure if I was alive in the present. Lu Chen's tone was so mournful, and what he said made Duthap Tam even more confused. The more he spoke, the more vague it became. "What on earth happened to you last night? You didn't explain clearly earlier." Lu Chen took a deep breath and then recounted what happened yesterday. It sounded a bit absurd, but he had been buried alive. Duthap Tam was already horrified upon hearing this. It turned out that yesterday afternoon Lu Chen had accepted an invitation to meet with the artist. Initially, he thought it was just a casual meeting with online friends. But unexpectedly, she came with the identity of the vice president of GGS for the Asia region. Ha Ng-hei had used Lu Chen's in-game equipment to exchange for $10,000 afterward. She invited him to join the new working group she had just established, and at the same time, Ha Ng-hei confessed her feelings for Lu Chen that she had harbored for a long time, but he rejected her. Duthap Tam felt regretful upon hearing this because rejecting someone as talented, beautiful, and rich as Hang-e was something few could do. However, Lu Chen had his reasons for rejecting her. With his current state of illness and delayed reflexes, being together would only become a burden for Ha Ng-e. He didn't want someone like her to waste time on a useless person like himself, but on the way home there was a twist. The competitor for the position. The president of GGS for the Asia region, seeing that he had no chance of winning against Hang-e, had set a trap on the way to confront her with a fan from the opposing side overwhelming in numbers and armed. The situation for Lu Chen and Hang-e was extremely dire. In that urgent situation, to save himself, he burned the gas tank, creating a large explosion, but this explosion could only delay them for so long. Hang-e fainted from the shock. Coincidentally, at that moment, a garbage truck passed by. Although it smelled bad, Lu Chen had no choice but to throw Hang-e onto it to escape. The hunting trip of those people had ended in failure. Therefore, they vented all their frustration on Lu Chen, who was already exhausted, and with so many opponents, he couldn't escape the tragedy of being choked to death. After losing consciousness, those bad guys all thought Lu Chen was dead, so they dragged him to a mass grave in the northern part of the city. Thus, at that time, Lu Chen, with only a faint breath left, was buried alive by them. Duthap Tam, upon hearing the words mass grave, had a grim expression. It seemed this was not the first time those people had committed such a crime. Returning to the main issue that day, Lu Chen had not yet been deprived of his last chance by heaven because right after those scoundrels left, a heavy rain poured down, softening the mud that buried Lu Chen. Due to the heavy rain, he became soft and unconscious, but like a zombie, he crawled up from the ground. Lu Chen also didn't know how he could move. He only felt the pain in his body gradually fading away, and when he regained consciousness, he found himself vaguely standing in front of his house. He only felt the pain in his body gradually fading away, and when he regained consciousness, he found himself vaguely standing in front of his house. The main point is that aside from the tattered clothes, there were no injuries on him. He just had a dull headache occasionally. Duthap Tam felt that the virus, the large one that his father discovered in Lu Chen earlier, was probably contracted when he was buried. After all, it had the effect of restoring his body. But this was indeed too hard to believe. However, what Do Jingdong said was indeed accurate. Lu Chen had gone through a huge trauma and had indeed come close to death. So his brain automatically forgot some things to protect himself like that. After recalling, Lu Chen's mood was extremely complicated. "Duthap Tam," he asked, "do you think I can still be considered a living person?" Duthap Tam temporarily couldn't give Lu Chen an answer. He only knew that all the mysteries were buried in the mass grave to the north of the city, and this urged Duthap Tam to go there. Originally, Lu Chen also wanted to go with him, but with his current body, standing up was already difficult, and importantly, Duthap Tam hadn't gone to that grave yet. He had to go to the People's Hospital No. 4 first. Earlier, Do Jingdong asked him to bring Lu Chen's gaming hat for research after finishing breakfast. Duthap Tam carried the gaming hat to his father's expert meeting room. As soon as he stepped through the door, he froze for a few seconds because in the room there were not only Do Jingdong, but also several elderly gentlemen with gray hair, all of whom were big shots in the industry. Meanwhile, while Duthap Tam was outside, Lu Chen was quietly calculating the things he had to do before he passed away. including finding a companion for his father and leaving retirement money for him to help the Vine rebuild the Dream Soul Sword, then leaving a proper farewell letter. Not long after Du Thap Tam returned. As soon as he heard his voice, Lu Chen hurriedly hid that plan. Du Thap Tam came with large and small bags as if he were running away from home, and indeed he was really running away. Without needing Lu Chen's consent, he declared that he would move in with him from now on. But my house only has one bed. Lu Chen didn't understand what was going on, saying it was okay. Your sofa is enough for me to lie down on. Lu Chen felt a bit of a headache. Judging by Du Thap Tam's expression, he guessed that 9 out of 10 his health condition had reached the point where he needed someone to take care of him. Then thinking about what he was thinking was because he was too bored being home alone. As for you can't pass away that quickly. While saying this, Du Thap Tam took out a health analysis report of Lu Chen. It stated that his physical condition was very good. Du Thap Tam said that initially he didn't believe it, but this report was the result of many experiments by the elderly professors, so he reluctantly believed a little. In fact, Do Jingzhong also didn't want to disclose Lu Chen's health status, but the viral load in his body was too high. He could only seek help from others, which were the elderly doctors that Du Thap Tam saw in the meeting room. Then more and more people arrived. Their ages were getting older and their ranks were getting higher. Eventually, they gathered into a group of academic big shots. This was clearly not an ordinary meeting, but a medical confrontation where these elderly professors had a lot of say. They only needed to make a phone call and the mass grave in the north of the city would immediately turn into a military-restricted area. Du Thap Tam didn't need to waste effort going there anymore. After half a day, all the secrets in that grave had been unearthed. Below that dumping ground was originally a mass grave from the end of the Han Dynasty. According to Du Thap Tam, it might even be related to Guan Yu. It seemed unrelated. But indeed, in Lu Chen's fragmented memories, there were images of this legendary character. But indeed, in the fragmented memories of Luke Tran, there is an image of this legendary character. But the more mysterious thing is that a liquid is flowing out from outside the tomb in which a type of viral crystal was discovered that has the same genetic code as the virus running in Lu Chen's body. This is indeed a shocking discovery that Lu Chen has been infected with a virus from 1,000 years ago because he is the first person to be infected with this type of virus. Therefore, the doctors named it after him. While Do Thap Tam began to pack his belongings, Lu Chen was still sitting there studying the report very carefully. He noticed that in it, the characteristics of the virus only have a few introductions without specific content, which is understandable. That report was written in just half a day. Even if the meeting room was filled with experts in the field, it would still be difficult to immediately study the characteristics of the virus. However, they could only confirm one characteristic of it, its extremely high regenerative ability. The proof is that it repaired the damaged cells of Luke Tran and enhanced his body to an unexpectedly good state. But what troubled Luke Tran the most was that none of the experts showed any interest in his body. My dad told me that there was actually a debate about this. Most people wanted to put him in a laboratory for 24-hour observation, but some leaders insisted on respecting his opinion as explained by Do Thap Tam. Later, those leading doctors also discovered that the original virus specimen had more research value, so Luke Tran's importance was diminished. Now he was only considered a reference subject for the original virus specimen. Du Thap Tam said this, and Luke Tran finally dared to breathe a sigh of relief. He was most afraid of becoming a guinea pig alone. Du Trung had drawn 800 cc of blood and tortured him for several hours already. Now with more than 10 professors, if everyone was like that, Luke Tran wouldn't survive. Unexpectedly, this virus had helped me 3 times. Luke Tran muttered, 3 times, wasn't it only twice? Du Thap Tam wondered if the cell regeneration helped me come back to life. It was an original virus specimen that helped me avoid becoming a guinea pig for the professors. The last 2 were about reducing reflexes, delaying it down to only 0.9 seconds. This was the first time Do Thap Tam had heard this since Luke Tran's accident. He was so excited that he immediately picked up Luke Tran's gaming helmet. He urged Luke Tran to quickly get into the game to experience it, which was also to test whether the X-ray system that Do Trung installed was effective. At this moment, Luke Tran discovered that there was something strange in his gaming console. Du Thap Tam proudly said that it was an important invention of his father. He had installed a system that emitted X-rays. With the effect of suppressing virus development, Luke Tran no longer needed to go to the hospital for X-ray exposure every day aside from the improved helmet. Duthap Tam also brought back another device called the Life Monitoring Bracelet, which could track Luke Tran's health data and directly send that data back to the hospital. At all times to serve as research data, but every week he still needed to go to the hospital for a full-body checkup once for reference data. Before Duthap Tam could finish, Luke Tran hastily interrupted him because the bracelet just put on his wrist was emitting blinding red lights. At the same time, Luke Tran was also shocked by electricity shaking all over. Duthap Tam saw this scene and was terrified. Oh my God, what is happening? And so, an ambulance had to be present in the lobby of the building for Luke Tran once again. Dukan Trung also arrived at the scene, and after a while of fixing things, the red lines and the electric shock phenomenon disappeared. The reason for that incident earlier was that Duthap Tam had hastily put on the bracelet without remembering. The basic rule was to adjust the mode beforehand, so now he was feeling very guilty. Uncle, today that Tam has worked hard. It was hard to avoid forgetting a few things, so Luke Tran helped him out a bit. However, Dukan Trung didn't really trust his son that much. After all, they were already here. He then personally educated Luke Tran about this bracelet. It could regularly check Luke Tran's health status. When the bracelet was black with no lines, it indicated a normal state. But when the bracelet showed red lines, it meant that Luke Tran's cardiovascular system was having issues, and it would emit electric rays like before to restore his cardiovascular system. If the bracelet showed a light blue color, it meant that Luke Tran was having lung problems, and it could also automatically correct that condition by injecting into the glands on his shoulders. Finally, if green lines appeared, there was an issue with the blood circulation of the 6 unique individuals due to the presence of the virus, which Duthap Tam did not adjust the parameters for before directly putting it on his wrist. Therefore, the red line immediately appeared while Luke Tran was shocked by the electric shock. Dukan Trung also advised him not to worry too much because after the signal was sent, as long as he was within the city area, he could rush over. He would arrive here within half an hour, so if you want to leave the city, you need to inform us in advance. This is also for your safety. I hope you can understand. Dukan Trung instructed him, but Luke Tran knew this was not just a casual reminder, but a request. He was now a subject of special research. It is understandable that his movement range is restricted within the city area. Once both sides reached an agreement, Dukan Trung returned to the hospital and Luke Tran began to study the gaming headset. Hey, old man, is your game ID still the same? Let me go online and add you as a friend. Have you changed yours? Luke Tran revealed his new in-game name to Duthap Tam, who had also changed to a new name that sounded even more impressive. Supreme Master Luke Tran fell silent for a few seconds before giving a thumbs up for that cool name. His attitude made Duthap Tam annoyed, asking, "What do you mean, am I not worthy of that name?" "Of course you are. Quickly set up the server. Wait for me to go online and then take me flying. Supreme Master who doesn't know Duthap Tam is a noob at gaming." Luke Tran pretended to mock him a bit, but inside he silently promised to recover soon to help him become a true Supreme Master worthy of the name. Since last night, he had already wasted quite a bit of time with the early game grind. 10 hours like that was very precious. Luke Tran hurriedly logged into the game. When the headset powered on the X-ray system also activated and that warm, comfortable feeling enveloped Luke Tran once again, this sensation was indeed very pleasant. When he logged into the game, the system automatically returned him to the coordinates before the disconnection, which was the Green Cockroach King Cave in the Divine Light Forest at that moment. Luke Tran finally had time to check the equipment he had received. It was a sword named Tung Lam 6-colored ring. Luke Tran was eager to test the power of this new weapon. With the sword in hand, he swung it, and in the blink of an eye, he could split a large tree in half. It was that sharp. He wondered how effective it would be against the body of a monster. Just as he thought about this, a monster came rushing towards him. Wasn't Luke Tran in the Green Cockroach King cave? Although the Green Cockroach King had been defeated by him, the monsters it ruled were still numerous, all level 7 or 8 green cockroaches, which were very suitable opponents. Luke Tran, with his new weapon in hand, unleashed a flurry of slashes. Wherever he struck, a green cockroach fell. The feeling of dominating this battle was truly satisfying, and he was in a hurry. "Come at me all at once." Seeing that the green cockroaches weren't very strong, Luke Tran pretended to say, but he didn't expect these monsters to understand human language, and charged at him all at once. Even so, the difficulty only increased slightly. It was completely impossible to break the situation that he was in control of. Luke Tran fought more fiercely, and not long after he finished the battle, wiping out the entire green cockroach nest. Although he still felt a bit lacking compared to before, this young man thought he was incredibly cool and handsome just now when a booming voice echoed back. Liu Chen thought that Du Shisan was coming to find him, or at most Longxing Tianxia was coming to settle scores with him, but when he turned around, he saw a complete stranger. The system reminded him that this was the spirit judge, one of the most powerful spirits in hell. He had come to the human world through a contract, and his current strength was still unclear. Liu Chen felt a bit tense for some reason. This guy surely wasn't here to cause trouble for him. After confirming the identity of the player, the spirit judge began to issue a judgment. Liu Chen had no idea what he intended to do. But then, the spirit judge simply tossed a scroll into his hands. It was a bounty notice worth 250 gold coins called a spirit bounty. Essentially, it was a way to hunt other players in the game, and this bounty was issued by Longxing Tianxia. Any player who successfully hunted Liu Chen would receive a reward of 250 gold coins. Successfully hunting Liu Chen would cause him to drop a level and would earn the hunter a reward of 250 gold coins, which was no small amount. 1 gold coin was equivalent to 100. Successfully hunting him once would yield 25,000. Clearly, that bastard wanted to use money to kick him out of the game. Although Liu Chen was the one who had provoked him first, this still made him extremely furious. Liu Chen tore the scroll in his hands apart. Longxing Tianxia, just wait. Let's see who gets kicked out of the game first in the end. Putting that aside, after clearing the green insect den and defeating the boss earlier, Liu Chen had completed the main quest regarding the green insects. He leveled up to level 10 and gained the qualification for a job change. Now he just needed to return to the newbie village to receive the job change letter. After that, he would go to the Ice Crystal Canyon to complete the job change. Liu Chen was so happy he jumped up. Finally, he could change jobs. Soon after, Du Shisan, the top player in the game, sent a friend request to Liu Chen. After confirming it, he saw that Du Shisan was worried and sent a message asking if Liu Chen had made any enemies. Who did you offend to get a bounty of 250 gold coins? You still haven't changed jobs yet. Not yet, Du Shisan sighed heavily. No wonder. There was a group of players who had completed their job change and were eyeing Liu Chen like a meal, preparing to come and hunt him down. Liu Chen knew that after the bounty notice, many people would target him, but he didn't expect that so soon someone would gather a whole group to ambush him. You should quickly check the community chat, Du Shisan shouted. Liu Chen had never paid attention to those things before. But since Du Shisan said so, he had to take a look. Sure enough, the chat channel was exploding. Everyone saw him as a target, and many teams were formed just to hunt him down. Du Shisan seemed very worried, but the one in trouble, Liu Chen, appeared quite calm in this situation. It was only natural for him to be calm, because as bitter as it sounded, who else in this world understood the feeling of being hunted more than Liu Chen? For an entire year, he had managed to survive despite being hunted by the entire gaming community. I've never asked you how you managed to hold on for a whole year online, Du Shisan wondered. Mentioning this made Liu Chen feel bitter. Throughout that year, he had spread false information, faked his death, disguised himself as a wild beast, and even pretended to be a roadside rock. Then he used a fake name to infiltrate the enemy's camp, ultimately hiding in the boss's lair for half a month. In short, he had done everything just to survive. Back then, Liu Chen was even given the nickname Master of Escape by his friends. Little did he know that after just one day of playing, he would have to return to the world of gaming as that Master of Escape. To confront the group that is hunting him down, Liu Chen had already thought of a way. First, he took a picture of himself, and then sent it to Duthap Tam, asking him to spread this photo around, claiming that Liu Chen was in the Phantom Forest. He wanted to lure those players to the forest while he would take this opportunity to change his class. Old Duthap Tam couldn't help but praise him excessively. It's just a basic trick of a master to escape. After discussing everything, Liu Chen took the time to cover his entire body with grass and leaves to disguise himself and then slipped away. Not long after, Duthap Tam did exactly as he instructed. He skillfully spread the photo on the World Channel, and indeed the foolish players fell into the trap and rushed to the Phantom Forest drawn by the call of money. Not knowing that the person they were looking for was the stone by the roadside they just passed, Liu Chen had returned to the newbie village to receive his class change certificate. The village chief instructed him to go to the Icebound Canyon to find the spirit swordsman Tulun and give him the certificate written by the chief so that Liu Chen could become Tulun's disciple. He then used all his speed to run. Once he reached the Icebound Canyon to change his class, he would be fine, because that is the territory of the Undead Legion. Ordinary players from the righteous faction would automatically be marked as enemies by NPCs when entering the camp. In fact, Lu Chen still had a bad feeling because the Icebound Canyon was the only class change location for the undead, so his intuition told him that Longhan Tian Ha must have sent forces there. He could not avoid the ambush, especially since changing classes was something he had to do. Even if the opponent was right in front of him, he still had to charge forward. Lu Chen ran through a vast valley, and beyond this place was the Icebound Canyon. He found the highest spot to observe what was outside. He wanted to see how many enemies were in the Icebound Canyon. If there were few, he could directly engage, but if there were many, he would have to use the strategy of feigning an attack to create chaos and sneak in to change his class. Just as Lu Chen predicted, there were a few people ambushed outside the Icebound Canyon with a level 12 archer taking on the role of observation, accompanied by a level 15 knight, a level 13 warrior, and a level 14 shield warrior. They all felt that Longhan Tian Ha was overly cautious for sending 4 people to deal with a kid who hadn't even changed classes yet. The female archer suddenly said, "After waiting so long, they finally arrived." Following her direction at the end of the road, Lu Chen slowly revealed himself. Seeing that there were only 4 opponents, he breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, there weren't many. Otherwise, it would be even harder to handle. They just met and they were already shouting to attack and kill? "Is there something we can sit down and discuss first?" Lu Chen spoke up, but he was actually stalling for time to find the right distance to strike. The 4 of them indeed did not heed his words. It was understandable, because they were all members of the Kuang Long Guild, and since Lu Chen had robbed their boss and tormented their guild leader, how could they sit down and negotiate with him now? They even thought that Lu Chen was scared. That's why he was so flexible in seeking peace. Therefore, they looked down on him even more. Hi, your guild has a lot of money, but your demeanor is so rough." "I'm just a small skull. Being scared doesn't make me lose face," Lu Chen retorted. "You big brothers can just hit lightly and treat me as air and let me go." Therefore, he looked down on him even more. The guild and Long clan have so much money, but such a rough demeanor. "I'm just a small skull, so what if I'm scared?" Lu Chen retorted, saying that you big brothers could just raise your hands and hit lightly, treating me like air and ignoring me. As he spoke, he took a few steps forward. The distance between Tran and his opponent was currently 10 meters, just 2 more meters, and he would enter the attack range. The level 12 archer was still ready with his bow drawn, while the others were also in a state of readiness to attack. Let you walk into the frozen steel at your leisure. Let you change your class, huh? We're not foolish enough to do that. Young Long has ordered to kill anyone who encounters the sinking spear, but your attitude isn't bad. I might consider it. Just enough to make you return to the respawn point once. Big brother leveling up isn't easy for us either. Why make it difficult for each other like this? Tran continued his delaying tactic, speaking while advancing. At this moment, he was only about 3 meters away from them. He stopped standing still and displayed a troubled expression. He kept blaming himself for offending someone he shouldn't have just to make the opponent lower their guard a little. Unexpectedly, they took it seriously and excitedly raised their guild to the sky, even daring to compare their tiny super crazy dragon guild with the bamboo shadow chaos guild. Previously, Tran couldn't hold back his laughter anymore. He burst out laughing heartily, saying, "You guys think you can stand shoulder to shoulder with Bamboo Shadow Chaos? Truly a bunch of ignorant fools. How dare you mock the crazy dragon guild? You must be tired of living." Tran didn't want to continue this pointless conversation anymore. After all, he had already entered the distance he desired. For these inexperienced kids, Tran really didn't want to say much more. The opponent only saw a level 10 undead like him, speaking arrogantly without fear, and they had to fight. Until he dropped a level, then they would be satisfied. The level 12 archer was furious and launched the opening attack, but even though the archer was at a higher level than Tran, she was just a paper-thin character. She couldn't withstand even one of his strikes. Tran took down the opponent in just 1 second. Now it was unclear who should be laughed at, yet they arranged for the archer to be at the front. Your weak team awareness makes me unable to hold back my laughter. Because of 2 remarks from the enemy, you all just stared blankly at the enemy. Right in front of you are you mentally handicapped. Tran's words were filled with mockery and the opponent began to panic. But they had to pull themselves together, reassuring each other that they still had 3 people to deal with Tran, which was more than enough. The knight quickly ordered to disperse the formation. They aimed to sandwich the opponent from 3 directions, yet Tran remained calm. Without the archer to sneak attack and disrupt in close combat alone, he was unbeatable. The level 13 warrior wanted to sneak attack, but before her sword could strike down, Tran had already noticed. All three charged forward, wanting to use their bodies to overwhelm him. But Tran was not afraid. Just at that moment, he suddenly missed his strike. This time was different from the last. Tran had gained more experience, so he quickly realized that his delay had lessened. For now, to safely find out how much the delay had decreased, he had to increase the distance. Tran was very pleased, relying on the recovery speed of his nervous system now. Perhaps in 2 days he would have enough strength to fight against Bamboo's Shadow Chaos. After testing, Tran confirmed that his delay had decreased to only 0.7 seconds. If that was the case, it would be easier to handle. The shield warrior was furious after missing his attack. He took out his ultimate move, Earth Rage. Unfortunately, this skill posed no threat to Tran. In Tran's eyes, even if he was a level 14 shield warrior, he was just a piece of meat. Just like that archer. The guy was quickly sent back to the resurrection point by Tran, leaving only that level 15 chatterbox knight. Now he realized he was scared and hurriedly spoke up. Wait, can we sit down and discuss this? Unfortunately, as soon as he finished speaking, Tran's sword pierced straight into his forehead. After sending his opponent off to sell salt, Tran leisurely wiped his sword blade. Until it shone brightly as before, he stepped inside the Frozen Steel Guild, saying, "The dragon is coming, we have to retreat." After he turned and left, the wound on the knight's forehead healed automatically. He didn't know how he did it. But indeed, just now he didn't see Tran go far. The guy stood up, sighed in relief, but before he could rejoice, Tran appeared behind him like a true British ghost. His words scared the opponent so much that he nearly wet his pants. Tran closed in on him from behind like a true hellish demon. "How can you come back to life right here? Is there some hidden resurrection potion?" "No, brother." The knight trembled and replied, "Players from level 15 and above can resurrect right on the spot, and I just happened to level up to 15. So Tran exclaimed about this resurrection on the spot with him. It seems not very advantageous. If the opponent collects the body right here, it would be a big problem. It looks like after reaching level 15, one must be even more careful." "Brother, look, I've made everything clear. Can I go now?" The knight carefully pushed Tran's sword away from his neck, his hunched posture making Tran feel extremely contemptuous. Taking this opportunity, he wanted to teach this ignorant fool a lesson, so he continuously tapped his sword on the knight's head each time, only causing the opponent to lose 1 HP. But it was both painful and humiliating. Tran was still not satisfied when suddenly Longhan Tianha called for the knight. He was very awkward wanting to take the chance while Tran wasn't paying attention to hang up, but nothing could escape his hawk-like eyes. Tran grabbed the knight's hand, forcing him to answer the phone. "Hello, Long Tu." The eager voice of Longhan Tianha came from the other end. "I've received the location you sent. You try to hold him, I'm preparing to come over. This time we have to kill him until he logs out of the game." The knight was extremely tense because he had been discovered by Tran for secretly sending the location to Longhan Tianha. Unexpectedly, Tran didn't even bother with him and directly yelled into the call, "Longhan Tianha." Unexpectedly, he didn't even bother to pay attention to him and directly yelled into the call, "Longhan Tianha." You really are a bunch of idiots running your mouths on the other end of the line. Longhan Tianha was instinctively startled back a step by Tran's voice. He had been sent back to the resurrection point after being beaten by him once before, so he still felt a bit fearful of this skeleton Tran, who was a formidable opponent. "That's right, it's me, Lao Tu. Your sea dragon has already been dealt with by me. Lao Tu is waiting for you at the Icebound Ridge. You don't have the qualifications to take me down." Tran quickly dispatched the knight to set an example. Longhan Tianha, who was still shouting that Tran shouldn't touch his friend, hadn't finished his sentence before the call was cut off. The connection was lost because he had already died. Longhan Tianha was furious, gritting his teeth, and he divided all the people following him into 2 halves, 1 half going with him to the Icebound Ridge. The other half went to guard the resurrection point, intending to ambush Tran as soon as he was sent back to the resurrection point. Not long after, Longhan Tianha led his people to the outside of the Icebound Ridge. All right. As soon as he saw the familiar tattered blue cloak, he launched an attack immediately, and a group of players followed him, attacking together from various classes, creating a downpour of strikes. The overwhelming assault was unprecedented. Longhan Tianha laughed heartily, confident that no matter how strong Tran was with a level 10 health bar, he wouldn't be able to withstand such massive damage. However, he hadn't laughed for long when a bright red simulation window appeared in front of him, which meant that the system had sent a red alert to Long Han Thien Ha, Daiba Long Tho. Then Vuong and many other players actively attacked the captain of the Night Spirit Patrol team at the Icebound Ridge. All players in the human faction in the area were now considered enemies of the Night Spirit Patrol. This announcement had terrified all the players there who had just entered the game and hadn't leveled up much. They had already made enemies with the Dark Faction NPCs. Even Long Han Thien Ha hadn't anticipated this move. While he was still filled with 1,000 questions of why the blue cloak was pulled down by the opponent. You humans are getting bolder by the day. You dare to attack the Great Lord. When the cloak was pulled down, Long Han Thien Ha realized that it wasn't the formidable opponent he wanted to fight. It was the captain of the Night Spirit Patrol team. This was clearly a trap set by Luke Tran, and unfortunately the rich but dim-witted fool had fallen into it. Fak is a high combat power NPC of the Night Spirit faction, and being marked as an enemy by him is certainly not a good thing. Long Han Thien Ha demanded that his subordinates prove themselves. Stay calm and hold the formation, but in this situation, who could remain calm? As for Fak, he wasn't going to let those who had attacked him for no reason escape. Want to run? Don't even think about it. The ground suddenly cracked open. Skeletons rose from the ground, grabbing the legs of the players. Even Long Han Thien Ha was no exception in front of such a skeleton army. It was hard for them to maneuver, especially when that army was being controlled by a high-level character of the Night Spirit faction like Fak. Long Han Thien Ha was in a panic and shouted loudly, "Hurry, call for reinforcements!" Fak felt like he had just heard a joke. His weapon fired straight at Long Han Thien Ha's head. Reinforcements, that would be nice. Rescue whatever it is, right? Just defeating a few guys like you can't possibly calm my anger. Long Han Thien Ha was beaten to the point of being dazed, while those following him were also suffering a massacre at the hands of the Night Spirit Legion. Not a single one could escape. The entire scene was witnessed by Luke Tran, who was hiding nearby, and he felt immensely satisfied when he saw that his plan to use someone else's weapon to kill had succeeded. It was indeed worth the $10 spent earlier to buy 10 tattered outfits like mine from Tan Thu village, recalling how earlier he had used all his vocabulary to flatter Fak Luke Tran. He went so far as to say that he was a true fan of his, worshipping him like a raging river, and then took the opportunity to gift him an outfit, exactly like the one he had just bought from the village chief. When Fak wore it, Luke Tran praised him endlessly, making him happy and unwilling to take it off, so in the end Long Han Thien Ha, that blurry-eyed guy, mistook him. After this incident, he hoped that the guild and Long could keep a low profile for a while, but unexpectedly, shortly after, the bounty notice was updated again. Previously, anyone who caused Luke Tran to lose a level would receive 250 gold coins, but now just killing him once without even needing to make him lose a level would reward 500 gold coins. Moreover, anyone with intelligence about him would also receive 10 gold coins, and the bounty money was increasing rapidly, just like Long Han Thien Ha's fury. Luke Tran was not worried at all. The more the opponents squandered their wealth, the more opportunities he had to fight with many experts. Furthermore, these experts would become stepping stones for him to gradually return to the peak of glory after Long Han Thien Ha was dealt with. Luke Tran then confidently ventured deeper into the Icebound territory. Finally, he found the spirit swordsman that the village chief mentioned, and he was so excited that he skipped over. "Master, I have come to find you to change my class." "You little cockroach, how dare you step into my territory? Prepare to take the hit." Indeed, the characters from the Night Spirit faction are all as hot-tempered as fire. In the end, Luke Tran had to pull out the introduction letter from the village chief to stop To Luan's sword from moving. The village chief was an old friend of To Luan. If he personally introduced me, then he had no reason to refuse me. I will listen to my old friend's opinion and take you as my disciple, but you must remember well that as a death spirit swordsman, we must have extremely filthy bodies and minds, To Luan said, and Luke Tran nodded vigorously. "I will remember well, master." To Luan seemed very pleased, even generously patting Luke Tran on the head, which was quite different from his earlier fearsome demeanor when he drew his sword, saying that before changing classes. "I need to stimulate your talent a bit." His hand on Luke Tran's head seemed to apply a bit more pressure, and then To Luan began to speak loudly. "O sleeping lord of the death spirits, let your death spirit power shine everywhere, overturning all the rules of this world. Descendant of the death spirits, awaken your talent." It turns out that awakening talent in the celestial realm is this grand. After a while, the system announced that Tran had comprehended the talent named Death Spirit Power. Level 1. Death Spirit Power awakens the strength of the sleeping spirit, increasing damage by 5% against all enemies. Each time it levels up, the talent's effect increases by 5%. This talent can be raised to level 10. By then, Tran could increase his damage by 50%. This is indeed a power that everyone desires, and to Luan seemed very proud to see his new disciple. Able to comprehend the highest quality talent, he then began another ritual to officially grant Tran the identity of a death spirit swordsman. After the ritual was completed, he tried to check his attribute panel. Everything had increased, and Tran felt that his body was now filled with power. There was only one thing that made him not very happy, which was that after officially becoming a death spirit swordsman. But your shape is still an ugly skull. Luan patted Tran's shoulder to comfort him, saying that the path of the demon was difficult and that the skull was our true nature. Kid, your bone structure looks very strange. Here are 3 skill books that can help you develop quickly. Tran's eyes lit up, but before he could thank him, Luan took back the skill books in his hands. It turns out that even between master and disciple, this was still very valuable, so he had to charge Tran 5 silver coins for each book. Tran felt a sharp pain in his stomach, tears streaming down his face. He had just taken on a mission and fought bosses, managing to gather 24 coins, yet his new master opened his mouth and took away 15 coins right away. Master, can't we have a little more leniency in our teacher-student relationship? Why are you droning on about 5 coins per book being the cheapest price? Luan showed no mercy. He directly took Tran's silver pouch and then threw him the 3 skill books. He kept saying that he was already selling at a loss. Tran eagerly opened all the skill books. He received 3 new skills: basic swordsmanship, which increases sword damage by 5%, and the ability to loot corpses, helping Tran find more items from dead bodies. Finally, there was the cleaving blade, which increases damage dealt to all targets by 10%. Tran calculated that with just basic swordsmanship and cleaving blade combined, it would increase his damage by 15%, and with the innate talent he would gain after changing classes, wouldn't that make it a full 20% increase? Previously, when playing as a swordsman, Tran could only raise his damage to a fixed number, but now the skills of the undead swordsman could increase it by a full 100%. Such damage would be based on that basic enhancement. In the future, the damage would continue to rise. This profession was indeed powerful. The best way to test the new skills was to compete. Thinking of this, Tran approached Luan and asked, "Master, do you have any good missions?" Luan was still lost in the feeling of earning 15 gold coins, so he casually tossed Tran a scroll, which was a high-grade F-level mission named Skull Command. The mission content required him to go to the Great Tomb and eliminate 50 lowly skull soldiers who had taken refuge with humanity, while also collecting 10 skull fingers to return to Luan. Tran clenched his fists. He suddenly felt much more excited about the mission and hurried to the Great Tomb where the skull soldiers were located. They were level 12, and if it were before, Tran could still take them down. But after changing classes, his attack power had increased significantly. Tran only needed 1 strike to swiftly take down the skull soldier. However, after he fell, a blinding purple flame erupted from his body, charging straight towards Tran. Although he didn't know what it was, he instinctively raised his sword to confront it, but his sword struck only air. That thing had no physical form, and now he couldn't even dodge in time. Tran was hit directly by the flame which entered his body. Strangely, he felt neither pain nor discomfort. Instead, it felt very pleasant. The system announced that he had just absorbed a fire soul, but his experience didn't increase, and his attributes remained stagnant. Tran found it strange. Could it be that this thing had no effect other than that momentary feeling of refreshment? He planned to log out and search the forum for information, but for now he wanted to see what good loot the skull soldier might drop. However, Tran had hoped too much, leading to even greater disappointment. The skull soldier dropped only a piece of torn, low-quality cloth with no value or use. "Oh my, this poor fellow was not worth the wait!" Tran shouted in frustration and continued hunting. It can't be. Chen had hoped too much, so the disappointment was even greater. From that skull soldier, only a piece of low-quality torn cloth fell out, which had no value or use at all. "Oh my, this poor thing wasted my waiting." Chen yelled loudly to continue hunting. "No way. All the skeleton soldiers are this poor." Not long after Lu Chen had chopped down 50 skeleton soldiers and collected enough 10 skeleton fingers, the mission was completed and he leveled up to level 11. Now he just needed to return to Han Ice Fortress to receive his reward from To Lun, and it was done. From the last skeleton soldier, a small magic stone dropped, which was somewhat useless. But it was still better than the 49 pieces of torn cloth before. Lu Chen sighed, preparing to return to Han Ice Fortress, when he suddenly realized he had gone too far. He had entered the Bone Spirit area in the Great Tomb. Surrounding him were towering tombstones. He didn't understand why. Lu Chen had a feeling that something would appear, and sure enough, shortly after, a gigantic skeleton approached. It was a level 15 Bone Spirit, but this one was not just any giant. Lu Chen stood before it like an ant before an elephant. Looking at the size difference, he began to tremble a little. "You little skeleton, where did you come from to dare act recklessly in our territory?" The Bone Spirit's voice boomed, echoing throughout the area. Lu Chen had no interest in conversing with an NPC monster like him. Ben took the initiative to attack, first thinking that the opponent was formidable, so he put all his strength into a series of skills in this attack. Unexpectedly, the imposing Bone Spirit was easily defeated by Lu Chen, to the point where he scratched his head in confusion as to why such a mini-boss was easier to deal with. Compared to the skeleton soldiers understanding Lu Chen's confusion, the system quickly explained that the Bone Spirit was the main race in the Bone Spirit tomb area. Although it had a large body, its combat power was low. However, they were very good at team battles and preferred to act in groups. Lu Chen only paid attention to the phrase "preferred to act in groups." Just as he finished reading the notification, a flaming arrow shot straight at Lu Chen. He jumped up to dodge while clicking his tongue, realizing he had poked the hornet's nest. The Bone Spirit he had just defeated. It seemed that it was only the vanguard. The difficult ones were the Bone Spirits attacking from behind. They were coordinating their attacks from multiple directions. Supporting each other quite systematically, their strength was indeed great, but to take Lu Chen's life, these monsters were still not strong enough, seeing his considerable power. More and more Bone Spirits were gathering. Lu Chen began to feel weary. Even though their abilities were inferior to his, if the battle dragged on like this, he would exhaust himself. So Lu Chen thought of a way. Weren't they surrounded by those towering tombstones? He used his sharp sword to carve a line on the highest tombstone, then circled around to the back and kicked it down from the cut. The tombstone immediately collapsed. Several Bone Spirits couldn't escape in time and were quickly crushed by it. Lu Chen wanted to take advantage of this chaos to escape, but he hadn't managed to leave yet. He felt an immense pressure. With such overwhelming might, it seemed the real boss had arrived. Sure enough, those gigantic Bone Spirits all knelt down in a very respectful manner. The creature that had just appeared could lift that tombstone with a snap of its fingers. "Who are you to dare harm my subjects?" Lu Chen swallowed hard due to the tension under the command of that bone boss. He had been surrounded by the Bone Spirits. In front of Luke Tran was not an ordinary skeleton. It was a level unknown spirit lord, and the system warned that Luke Tran could not defeat this enemy at the moment. He needed to retreat quickly. The fact that he couldn't see the opponent's level indicated it was at least 20 levels higher than him. Luke Tran was not foolish enough to try to fight it head-on. But the problem was that he was now surrounded by layers of skulls, and escaping was not going to be easy. The Spirit Lord began to slowly advance on his path. He unconsciously stepped on a withered skull, causing its skull to crack open immediately. Luke Tran felt even more tense. He couldn't even slice that skull with his tongue. Yet this one just needed to step on it to shatter it. "Accept your fate, you little brat," the Spirit Lord said in a cold voice completely unlike someone joking. With each step he took, the ground began to crack. Luke Tran felt his mind go blank. How terrifying was this power? How was he supposed to deal with such a terrifying opponent? Suddenly, an idea flashed in Luke Tran's mind as he looked around. After a while, he had determined the direction to return to the Icebound territory, and at that moment, the Spirit Lord had also reached in front of Luke Tran. "Do you have any last words?" Luke Tran had regained his earlier fearful demeanor and mockingly raised his middle finger, laughing. No matter that the opponent was a Spirit Lord. "What are you trying to threaten with a broken tombstone? And you dare to call yourself a king? If you're so capable, go ahead and smash me with that tombstone." Luke Tran's attitude left the Spirit Lord stunned for a few seconds, his anger reaching a peak as his right hand raised high into the sky. A red light emanated from his fingertips, making it feel oppressive. "You will pay for your arrogance," he said, as he lowered his hand, sending the tombstone flying toward Luke Tran. The direction it flew was the same as the way back to the Icebound territory. Seeing his opponent fall into his trap, Luke Tran secretly rejoiced. He timed it perfectly and jumped onto the tombstone as it hurtled toward him. "Goodbye, skull." As Luke Tran soared past, the skulls could only stare blankly at each other while the Spirit Lord was so furious that he lost his usual arrogance. "What are you standing there for? Hurry up and chase him," he shouted. The skulls finally snapped out of it, but it was too late to catch Luke Tran as they chased him to the edge of the great graveyard. They found the large tombstone left behind. Luke Tran didn't even waste time escaping. He carved a few words on it, thanking the Spirit Lord for the large tombstone. He even carved a big heart shape. The skulls looked on bewildered, noting that the letters were beautiful and the heart was lovely. The Spirit Lord was so enraged by his subordinate's ignorance that he almost spat blood. His entire body radiated killing intent, making everyone fear him, and the skulls could only lower their heads. They begged their lord to calm down. He then issued a bounty for Luke Tran. As soon as he was found, he was to be killed without mercy. But how could they catch Luke Tran when he had already returned to the Icebound territory to report his mission? After Tuluan received the 10 fingers, the mission was officially completed. Luke Tran leveled up again, gaining 1,200 experience points. He also received 5 prestige points and a piece of equipment, a glowing wrist armor that increased his physical resistance by 8 points. It also provided 4 points of magical resistance and 2 points of strength. Luke Tran quickly put it on. This wrist armor seemed to match his chest armor well. Finally, he had a new piece of equipment. It seems to fit with the breastplate, doesn't it? Finally, there's new equipment. Taking another step towards completing the full-body equipment, Luke Tran mumbled that his attributes had increased significantly, although he still couldn't directly confront the Lord of the Undead. However, he could still fight against the skeleton heads to level up. Tulun was unable to contain his shock upon hearing this. "Had you encountered the skeleton heads and the Lord of the Undead Tangvu?" "That's right." Luke Tran nodded vigorously. "If it weren't for my quick thinking, I might not have been able to return." Tulun's expression suddenly turned serious as he patted Luke Tran's shoulder painfully, saying that since Luke Tran had gotten involved with the Lord of the Undead, he would have to take on another mission. Recently, that Tan Vu is preparing to summon a large number of skeletons to attack the Han gang. Given this situation, Tulun believed they had to take action first to gain the upper hand. Just as he finished speaking, a new mission chain was sent to Luke Tran. These were all high-level missions. They were higher than the skeleton mission just earlier. The first mission was to hunt down 200 skeleton heads while collecting 20 of their fingers to deliver to Tulun. After completing the mission, one could receive a piece of Blackstone equipment, 2,200 experience points, and 21 prestige points. The second mission was to hunt down 200 thorn skeletons. At the same time, collect 40 of their fingers to bring back to Tulun. The reward was another piece of equipment, 3,000 experience points, and 45 prestige points. The final mission was also the most difficult. It involved a direct confrontation with the Lord of the Undead skeleton guards, extending the time for the undead swordsman Tulun to hunt down the Lord of the Undead. Completing the mission would yield a piece of copper equipment, 4,500 experience points, and 100 prestige points. After reading the mission list, Luke Tran could only break out in a cold sweat. Although the mission rewards were generous, completing them would not be easy at all. Wealth and honor must be earned in dangerous situations. As long as you are not absorbed by the Lord of the Undead, your soul will be fine, Tulun reassured him. Seeing him actively mention the soul fire, Luke Tran took the opportunity to ask his question master, "What exactly is the soul fire?" Tulun explained that the soul fire is the source of life of the night spirits. There are 4 major clans of the night spirits, and they together dominate all night spirits. The most numerous are the Undead clan, followed by the Corpse Demon clan, which has the strongest physical qualities, then the Dark Elf clan, which possesses the highest level magic. Finally, there is the Wraith clan, which can appear and disappear without being harmed by any physical impact. The most numerous, Luke Tran asked in confusion, "Why do I feel that our Undead clan is somewhat inferior?" Among the 4 major clans of the night spirits, only our Undead clan can absorb the soul fire and achieve endless evolution. We are indeed the strongest night spirits. Luke Tran still didn't fully understand where the strength lay, but seeing Tulun's serious demeanor, he figured it couldn't be a lie from his master. What happens if one is absorbed by the soul fire? They would fall into a dark hell and be erased from this world. Luke Tran swallowed hard in tension. Wouldn't that mean being completely wiped from existence? It seems the nature of the undead clan is quite fierce indeed. They can only rely on absorbing the souls of their kin to continuously evolve initially, just a simple undead, then leveling up to become an undead commander. After that, they become the Lord of the Undead, and finally, when enough soul fire is absorbed, they can even become the most powerful existence in the world. The Night Spirit, the absolute ruler, the Night Spirit King, or by another shorter name, the Asura. Master looked at Luke Tran, who was deep in thought, and continued speaking. Asura is an unending path of evolution, a glorious responsibility of the undead clan. He no longer has a chance, but Luke Tran has awakened the unique undead power. The future will surely succeed. He encouraged you, Luke Tran, who nodded slightly and then said he wanted to hunt the green skeletons. His master reminded him to be careful. He is the hope of the undead clan. Luke Tran's figure quickly disappeared, so he did not hear his master's subsequent words, which were that he was also his hope outside the green skeleton graveyard. The level 15 green skeletons were guarding this place. At this moment, a level 3 messenger crow also flew over, cawing a few times. The green skeletons looked at it in surprise, somewhat suspicious as it kept cawing upwards. Was there something up there? Another one shook his head in denial, saying not to joke around. The tombstone is so high that nothing could climb up there. This statement is not wrong. These tombstones are indeed very high. They thought it was just some other birds resting on top. However, there was indeed someone up there, Luke Tran, who was hiding on a tomb waiting for the green skeletons to leave before he breathed a sigh of relief. He almost got exposed. He had to patrol elsewhere. Luke Tran avoided the green skeletons and then patrolled. After half an hour, he had a clear understanding of the situation. Outside the green skeleton graveyard, there were 8 patrol teams, each with 5 members and a messenger crow for communication. He had to take out the crow first so they couldn't call for help. The most troublesome part was that every 10 minutes, 2 teams would meet. In 10 minutes, he had to eliminate 2 teams while avoiding detection, and then every 10 minutes he had to eliminate 2 teams similarly. This was indeed a great challenge for Luke Tran. He pondered for a moment, and then decided to take action, waiting for the green skeletons to leave. After waiting here, he started the timer and then attacked without saying a word. The first group of green skeletons was caught off guard, and they were somewhat startled. They shouted loudly, but unfortunately, before they could see anything, Luke Tran's sword had already severed the crow's body. The initial communication had succeeded. His speed was too fast. The green skeletons basically couldn't keep up. With every strike of his sword, a green skeleton fell and disgusting slime splattered everywhere in the air as he began to use his skills. In an instant, faint purple rays appeared. The green skeletons were afraid that after he used his skills, they would be doomed. One of them aggressively charged forward, pointing at him. But Luke Tran had completed the skill operation, and the sword light struck the green skeletons like lightning. The speed of the sword light was so fast that the naked eye could not see it, and the green skeletons could not keep up, thus taking the full brunt of Luke Tran's skills. However, Luke Tran still felt he was too slow. He had to be faster. He didn't have much time. Before long, all the green skeletons had fallen, leaving only a single green finger bone floating in the air. Luke Tran saw this scene and felt somewhat dissatisfied. The drop rate was too low. The clock was now nearing 2 minutes. Luke Tran knew he didn't have time to use the death fan skill anymore. At this rate, in 7 minutes, he would meet the second team, meaning he had to resolve each battle within 1 minute, which was somewhat difficult. Time passed quickly. A moment later, strange flashes of lightning suddenly appeared in the sky. This astonished the patrolling green skeletons. What was happening? But when they saw the corpses of the green skeletons and the messenger crow on the ground, they were even more terrified. All 8 teams had been wiped out. If they didn't change shifts, no one would notice. The level of the patrolling green skeletons had increased, and there was a name. They hesitated to report to their master or not. But another one stopped them, saying that today they had already let that person escape once, which had already enraged their master. If this happens, the master will be completely disappointed with them. As soon as this was said, the blue bones behind also nodded in agreement, feeling it made sense. Minbach, the leader, continued to give orders. Double the number of patrol teams and double the equipment for each team with 4 messenger crows. Expand the search area. We must capture the troublemaker. On the other side, Luke Tran was hiding in the life zone, quietly checking the remaining number of blue bones. Currently, he had only taken down 40, and he had only collected 4 finger bones. To complete the mission, it would take a long time. He could only go deeper into the tomb area to hunt further. However, Tran still had some gains. He had leveled up to Thap Tam after taking down 40. Completing the mission would allow him to reach level 15. He wondered what his rank was now. He thought for a moment. He couldn't help but check the leaderboard. Seeing the top player, he couldn't help but sigh. Kok 2 was already at level 18, far ahead. He must be someone who grinds levels. And he was only at level Thap Tam. What rank could he be? He continuously scrolled through the leaderboard to find his name, but no matter how much he scrolled, he still couldn't see it until he stopped outside the top 100 at position 125, where he finally saw his name. Seeing this position, he couldn't help but feel dissatisfied. In Lindong, he had always maintained a rank in the top 100, and now he had dropped to 125. He couldn't accept it. He had to get back into the top 100. Thinking this, he immediately grabbed his sword and wanted to run off. But at that moment, a figure suddenly appeared in the darkness. It was the Knight of the Undead, Kok 2. Tran was startled to see the person in front of him. It really was Kok 2. Tran knew he was being issued a bounty. He was a bit surprised about why he was suddenly being hunted. Kok 2 was here for the 500 gold bounty which was originally looking for him. He didn't expect to run into him in a place like this. Tran narrowed his eyes at the person in front of him and coldly spoke, "Your bounty won't be easy to claim." Kok 2 chuckled softly. "Well, that's great. If you love it too much, there's nothing interesting about it." As soon as he finished speaking, the spear in his hand lunged towards Tran. The speed of his thrust was not too fast, and Tran easily dodged this attack. Kok 2 looked astonished at this scene. He really managed to dodge it. Moreover, he even inflicted damage on him. He immediately counterattacked, thrusting the spear again, this time grazing Tran's arm and causing him to lose some health. Taking advantage of the moment he retracted his weapon, Tran jumped back, his expression thoughtful. He noticed that his speed was slightly slower than his, but his defense was too high. This was probably the advantage of being a Knight of the Undead. Kok 2 was now filled with combat intent. He was quite good, and he really wanted to continue fighting with him. He charged forward again, and Tran did not back down, gripping his sword tightly, ready to respond. When the spear tip was almost close to him, he sensed the opportunity. Immediately, he used the tip of his sword to deflect his spear back. Kok 2 couldn't believe it as he looked at him. His timing was perfect. Instantly, he knocked his spear away. In a second, he was stunned, and Tran charged forward with his sword, continuously mocking, "Don't be so stunned. You're the top player after all." As soon as he finished speaking, purple energy appeared around him. He activated the Chunan, and sharp sword rays slashed towards Kok 2, causing him to suffer significant damage. By the time he reacted, he was trembling, gripping his spear tightly to defend himself. Although he took damage, it seemed he was not too affected. After stabilizing himself, he fiercely bit his lip. "If you've used all your skills, then it's my turn." As soon as he finished speaking, he gained momentum and charged towards him. In an instant, his spear was enveloped by a faint green flame. Immediately lunging towards Chen, but his weakness was his slow reaction speed, allowing Chen to evade this piercing strike. However, a few seconds later, he suddenly felt a sharp pain in his body. Chen was trembling, overwhelmed by the pain, and could only brace his sword against the ground for support. At this moment, Chen was caught off guard and was stabbed by a spear, losing a significant amount of blood. He knelt on the ground, lost in thought about what had just happened to him. It felt like his head was about to explode. Realizing that Chen was in trouble, Guiguzi charged forward, continuously cursing him to die. In that instant, Chen could no longer move to evade. He could only raise his sword to block the tip of the spear. He bit his lip fiercely, trying to hold on, but the spear was pushing deeper and deeper, with Guiguzi clearly gaining the upper hand. He gently exerted force, twisting his wrist, and sent Chen's sword flying far away. Chen blinked, watching his weapon leave his grasp, silently cursing that it was the end for him. He wanted to run and retrieve his weapon, but Guiguzi would not give him that chance. "Dream on," he sneered, blocking the way. "Want to get your weapon back?" "Not a chance," he said as he stabbed Chen again, causing him to lose more blood. Chen was somewhat alarmed. His weapon had been knocked away. His blood had already dropped by more than half, while his opponent was fully equipped and still had plenty of blood left. At this rate, he would surely lose. While he was thinking, Guiguzi was not idle. He lunged forward with the spear, and as the tip of the spear approached Chen's chest, Chen couldn't help but curse silently. Not in time. Sure enough, he took a direct hit from Guiguzi, sending him flying, his body crashing hard against the tombstones behind him. Seeing this, Guiguzi couldn't help but feel pleased. He then readied his spear again. The battle would soon come to an easy end. But Lu Chen was not harmed. He could still stand up. He was somewhat doubtful how did he manage to block that hit. Guiguzi looked at the person struggling to rise before him, still alive, but that was fine. He immediately took out a camera and a skull appeared in the air. He wanted to record the moment he took down Lu Chen to earn a reward. He had forgotten about that. Next, he would fight a proper match, but when he saw Lu Chen's actions, he was somewhat astonished. He saw Lu Chen intently staring at the leaves in front of him, and suddenly beams of purple swordlight appeared from his hands. This strange action left Guiguzi utterly confused. Was he cutting the falling leaves? Under his astonished gaze, the leaves that were falling aimlessly in the air were suddenly sliced into 100 small pieces. At this moment, Lu Chen laughed triumphantly. It was indeed like that. The intense headache was due to the sudden drop in latency. This feeling was all too familiar. Latency had dropped to 2 seconds. Narrowing his eyes at Guiguzi in front of him, he couldn't help but smile excitedly. Now he had a perfect test subject right here. He raised an eyebrow, provoking the person in front of him. Let's continue the second round. Guiguzi was infuriated by Lu Chen's arrogant behavior, sneering at a weaponless person daring to act so aggressively. Lu Chen slightly pouted arrogantly, stating dealing with him only requires 2 fingers. He dared to underestimate him. Guiguzi gripped his spear tightly and lunged forward. At this moment, he was truly filled with killing intent. He wanted to use this strike to finish Lu Chen off. Lu Chen clearly felt the overwhelming momentum, but he remained calm, casually raising a finger to block the spear. A moment later, the tip of Guiguzi's spear was pushed aside. His speed was far too slow for this scene. This left Guiguzi unable to contain his shock. Using just 1 finger, Lu Chen easily deflected his attack. This was something he could not accept. Continuing the attack this time, he used a series of piercing strikes. Each spear seemed to shatter into many pieces, rushing through the air, but the result was still the same. He was still casually pushed back by Lu Chen's finger, who squinted at the person in front of him, mocking the Ghost Valley child. Your attack is useless. The Ghost Valley child certainly would not admit defeat, coldly saying, Don't be so arrogant, those are just ordinary moves. Let's see how you can block this. As soon as he finished speaking, the spear in his hand transformed into a sharp spear and thrust forward, but Lu Chen remained calm, standing there. He smiled lightly, his tone filled with disdain. With an attack like this, why bother blocking? He did not move or dodge as the spear sliced directly through him. But what shocked the Ghost Valley child was that the spear had passed through him, yet it caused no harm. For a moment, he was stunned, and Lu Chen had already approached him, reminding him that this was not the time to be dazed. Then he directly punched him. The Ghost Valley child had no time to dodge and took the full force of Lu Chen's punch, unable to detect when Lu Chen had reached his position. What just happened naturally? No one could answer his question, and at that moment Lu Chen had tightly grasped his spear, fiercely kicking him in the stomach. Causing him to lose a significant amount of blood, not giving him a chance to react, Lu Chen forcefully pulled the spear from his hand. The Ghost Valley child thought he had been careless, so he slipped and fell to the ground with his weapon thrown far away by Lu Chen. Looking at the person lying on the ground, Lu Chen immediately mocked him, You don't even have a weapon now. At this moment he had drawn out. His sword was embedded in the tombstone. The situation had changed. After saying this, he took a leap forward once again, using the continuous strike technique. Attacking the Ghost Valley child, he wanted to finish it in 1 move. But the Ghost Valley child was not to be underestimated. He activated the ghost armor to protect his body, proudly saying to Lu Chen, This armor can't just be broken. Lu Chen frowned, looking at the invisible protective armor in front of him, feeling quite impressed. But even more surprising was what happened next. The Ghost Valley child suddenly moved. Could it be that he had a backup weapon? Just as Lu Chen had predicted, the Ghost Valley child pulled out another spear from his equipment. He fiercely threw it towards Lu Chen, a light blue energy enveloping the spear, and before long the area in front of him was engulfed in flames. At this moment, the ghost armor had also ended. He fell into a weakened state for 15 seconds with his defense reduced by 80%. Seeing the blazing fire in front of him, he finally breathed a sigh of relief, thinking he had finally dealt with Lu Chen. But his spear only lodged into the tombstone behind. When the flames gradually weakened, Lu Chen's figure still stood there calmly, not forgetting to raise an eyebrow, provoking him, Did you really think you got me? Not a chance. He was far from achieving that. The Ghost Valley child could not believe his eyes looking at the person standing in front of him who had directly taken his penetrating missile attack yet remained unharmed. Liu Chen chuckled lightly, teasing him. You're asking too many questions. As soon as he finished speaking, he vanished, and when he reappeared, he was in front of the Ghost Valley child, stabbing down with a sword. Causing him to suffer significant damage, the Ghost Valley child bit his lip. His current defense was too low. A normal attack had already dealt 106 damage after the skill ended. His defense stats had decreased. Liu Chen had noticed this. This was a great opportunity to finish him off, so Liu Chen continued to attack. The sword in his hand fiercely slashed down. His speed of attack was too fast. The Ghost Valley Master basically couldn't keep up with you. You didn't even need to use skills to take him down. Liu Chen looked at the defeated opponent and smiled victoriously. Being top 1 isn't too bad either. It's a pity that he encountered you, but at this moment he realized that the Ghost Valley Master had logged out. He couldn't help but frown. He logged out just like that. It seems he was scared. At the home of the Ghost Valley Master, even after logging out, he couldn't escape the screen. He was still reviewing the battle video, unable to believe that the speed had decreased. Not 5 seconds had passed. He still couldn't see clearly what had happened. Gongzonggu didn't grasp the principles of your execution. It seemed he had to watch frame by frame to figure it out. Thus, he continuously manipulated the machine to adjust the speed to review the slow-motion images. When Liu Chen executed his move, it gradually became clear. Gongzonggu paused to examine it bit by bit. As a professional, he finally recognized the issue. Liu Chen only shifted slightly to avoid the attack and then immediately returned to his original position, creating the illusion that the spear had pierced through at this speed. This maneuver was truly unbelievable. Only experts in the Hall of Fame like Zhu Yingluan and Luo Chen could achieve such a feat. Thinking of this, he excitedly brought out such a large gaming device. He couldn't miss out on this. At the same time, Liu Chen suddenly sneezed twice in the game, wondering if someone was cursing him. In the Life Tomb area, it was still shrouded in a dark, eerie night. The Ghost Valley Master quickly returned, but Liu Chen was nowhere to be seen. He didn't know if he had logged out or gone to complete a mission, but it didn't matter. As long as he was still in the ice prison or the Great Cemetery, he would definitely find him. Liu Chen, who was hiding behind a tombstone, suddenly sneezed again. He suspected he might be catching a cold or that someone was constantly mentioning him. Otherwise, why would he keep sneezing like this? While he was lost in thought, a harsh voice suddenly rang out. It was the group of blue skeletons on patrol. He didn't know who had ambushed them, causing them to have to work overtime on their day off. Their date was ruined, and they kept cursing, saying they only knew how to sneak attack from behind, cowardly, afraid to show themselves because they were outnumbered, and even called him a single dog. Enjoying their day off, not missing a word, made him shiver. They even dared to call him a coward. So he decided not to wait any longer and shouted loudly before jumping down to attack. This startled the blue skeletons, who looked up in shock. The communication raven quickly called out, and the blue skeleton was dumbfounded, unable to react before Liu Chen struck him down. He didn't hide it anymore. He directly admitted that he was the one who took them down. The communication raven and the blue skeleton he used as a perch were cut in half by him. In the blink of an eye, he fell right at the spot. Looking at the corpse beneath his feet, his eyes were filled with hatred. This damn skeleton dared to call him a single dog. He just didn't want to make his guild leader sad. The blue skeletons were stunned by this scene for a long time before realizing and shouting that he was the one. They really wanted to catch him and were also the ones who formed the patrol team. In an instant, the communication raven covered the sky, and the leader quickly ordered the others to follow him. At the same time, the communication raven in the sky emitted an alarm. The 6th team in the tomb area was ambushed by enemies. Seeing this scene, the blue skeleton immediately smugly told Liu Chen to surrender. However, Liu Chen was not afraid at all, and even praised them for being smart enough to disperse the communication signals. They couldn't be blocked. At this moment, the blue skeleton rushed towards Liu Chen. Telling him to watch out for his move, Liu Chen calmly looked at him with a look of disdain. Seeing his arrogant attitude, the leader immediately ordered the group to charge at him together to take him down. "I told you to look at the move." Liu Chen calmly looked at it with disdain in his eyes. Seeing this arrogant attitude of him, the leader immediately ordered the group to rush in and take him down. In the blink of an eye, a fierce battle broke out in the graveyard, but the blue skeletons were no match for Lu Chen, as no matter how they attacked, they couldn't hit him. He was then astonished and asked why he could easily dodge such attacks. However, Lu Chen did not answer them. Another one reassured that the reinforcements were on their way. Lu Chen smiled excitedly, saying that was even better and hoped they could arrive a bit faster because waiting after defeating the ones in front was quite boring. As soon as he finished speaking, he made his move. The faint purple energy danced continuously in the air, moving so fast that it was invisible to the naked eye, followed by the sound of frantic screams. The green graveyard was filled with the notification sounds of the crows relaying messages as the patrol teams were continuously ambushed, but Lu Chen kept changing direction. This made it impossible for them to predict his moves. The captain of the blue skeletons, upon hearing that the 8th team was ambushed, ordered the skeletons to rush eastward to prevent Lu Chen from escaping, but while they were running, Lu Chen was also running towards them. The captain sensed something was coming and stopped, but before he could react, a beam of sword light appeared out of nowhere. It slashed at his neck, cutting it halfway through, leaving him bewildered about what had just happened. He hurriedly asked the blue skeletons behind him if they were okay. Only when he looked back did he realize in horror that his soldiers had been completely taken down with 2 fingers floating in the air. The captain looked at the corpses of his soldiers scattered on the ground and shouted angrily, asking who did this. He quickly scanned the area and indeed saw a vague figure standing there. He recognized it as the skeleton he had been searching for, but Lu Chen in front of him did not pay attention to him. He was still lamenting that he had not yet achieved the speed and accuracy he had before. He had let one lucky survivor escape after a hunting session, having collected 215 blue skeletons and 19 fingers, which was still not enough. The ignored captain, furious, continued to question him. "Weren't you in the eastern graveyard?" Lu Chen raised an eyebrow at him, mockingly laughing that their reinforcements were too slow, so he had to come here himself. Speaking of which, the sword in his hand showed signs of wanting to attack again. Enough with the nonsense, it was time to finish off the last one. The captain, whom Lu Chen looked down upon, angrily cursed him for being a loudmouth. He swung the mace in his hand, wanting to smash it down, but unfortunately his speed was too slow. Lu Chen dodged to the side, avoiding his mace as it smashed down onto the ground. He did not expect to miss, but even more unbelievable was that behind him, Lu Chen's figure was like a ghost, appearing and disappearing with the sword enveloped in purple energy. It began to violently strike the captain's body, and within a few seconds the captain was slashed down to the ground, dropping the last finger item, completing the mission. The system quickly sent a notification congratulating him on completing the mission and instructed him to go to the Icebound fortress to claim his reward. After finishing the mission, Lu Chen thought about his new skill. With a delay of only 0.2 seconds, dealing with the blue skeletons was as easy as pie. The Icebound fortress, a place that is perpetually frozen, was where Lu Chen had arrived as instructed by the system to claim his reward. He wondered what the black stone he would receive this time would be. He hoped it would be a pair of gauntlets. After receiving the reward, he still needed to find a place to repair his damaged weapon. After the battle, his sword had been chipped quite a bit. Just then, Lu Chen suddenly stopped in his tracks because he heard crying coming from somewhere. A few seconds later, a group of people suddenly appeared carrying a somewhat gloomy coffin. Lu Chen stared blankly at the group approaching him. The leader was still crying, lamenting that such a young person had passed away, throwing out round white papers. Lu Chen frowned slightly. The patrol team had perished and everyone was gone. This must be a hidden mission that he could not afford to miss. Thinking for a moment, he immediately greeted the person in front, asking what was going on. He was the fakir captain of the fucker patrol team, and as soon as he heard the noise, he quickly looked up and saw him excitedly grabbing his hand and saying the patrol team. Something big has happened? He could only find the body, but the head was missing. After hearing this, Tran pretended to be indignant and chimed in, saying it was outrageous that the patrol team had to be responsible for protecting Han Bangkwang. Therefore, he couldn't go for revenge. Tran listened and displayed a look of outrage, cursing that Ironback Bear for ambushing him. As soon as he said this, Faker immediately trusted him and praised him for being understanding. The future would surely be bright. Without hesitation, Tran nodded in agreement, assuring him to rest easy. Thus, he received the mission to take down the Ironback Bear, worth 20 reputation points and 2,000 experience points. After looking at the mission notification, Tran couldn't help but frown. This mission had a time limit, and it seemed he had to set off immediately. Upon hearing this, Faker pointed him in the right direction. 500 meters to the east, there was a Necromancer's forge. He immediately thanked him and then hurried east. The Necromancer's forge was not far away, an ancient building. In front, there was a skull. Luke Tran arrived shortly and looked up at the house in front, falling into contemplation. This was the Necromancer's forge, but there seemed to be a problem with the blacksmith. The respected village chief had a sign saying "blacksmith" hanging around his neck. Luke Tran suspiciously asked if he was also a blacksmith. He calmly admitted it and proudly claimed to be versatile with many talents. He stood up from his chair and walked over to Luke Tran, saying it had been a long time since they last met. If he wanted to enhance, repair, or decompose equipment, he honestly said he was there to repair it. But this job required strength. Could the village chief handle it? The village chief smiled at him, then removed his black cloak, revealing his sturdy body. He confidently said it was just some minor equipment, not enough to get him heated up. He raised an eyebrow at Luke Tran, telling him to hand over the equipment. Luke Tran hesitated for a moment before handing over his sword to him. The village chief took it and tossed it into the equipment to absorb enough heat. Then he struck hard. The village chief held the forging hammer in his hand, proudly telling Luke Tran to watch closely. Soon he began hammering the hot sword on the table. Luke Tran observed his skilled movements and couldn't help but praise him for his talent. Not long after, the village chief reached the final step, and white light continuously appeared around Luke Tran's sword. Quickly, the village chief let out a breath. The sword in his hand had also become perfect without a single crack. Luke Tran received the sparkling sword in his hand, his eyes shining brightly. It looked just like new. Sweet words made the village chief very pleased. He put on his cloak again, shaking his legs casually, saying, "Don't you see who I am, the #1 blacksmith in the Necromancer realm?" Luke Tran declined to comment and asked him how much it would cost. The village chief, being an acquaintance, only charged him 1 silver coin. Luke Tran quickly paid and turned to leave. Next was the mission to take down the Ironback Bear. There were 45 minutes left, and the time was still sufficient. The Hanbang Trail was the road leading from Hanbang Quang to the Pubang City. This was the battleground between the light faction and the dark faction. To the right was a green pine forest, 2 contrasting landscapes. It was indeed a place with very clear boundary disputes. Luke Tran believed the bear must be in the green pine forest, so he faced that direction and called for it. He continuously called out loudly, but no one responded. However, at that moment his expression changed slightly because a giant level 20 iron-backed bear was sleeping soundly in front of him. It was so large that it astonished Luke Tran, revealing its terrifying blood-red eyes. The giant iron-backed bear quickly stood up, almost blocking Luke Tran's view. It had woken up and wanted to fight him, but for a long while it just stood there silently staring at him, then directly lay down to continue sleeping as if he posed no threat to it. So it wasn't too worried. Luke Tran saw this scene and became furious. This stupid bear was sleeping right in front of an enemy, showing that it didn't take him seriously. Since that was the case, he would act immediately. As soon as he finished speaking, he aggressively jumped into the air and swung his sword down, wanting to take its head. However, it seemed to sense the danger. Its eyes opened again, sitting up. Luke Tran's sword could only strike its forehead, but didn't cause any significant damage. Luke Tran looked at it in horror. Its armor was too tough. All the damage has been blocked. And at this moment, the Ironback Bear had noticed that you wanted to attack it, so without hesitation, it swung its giant claws at you. Lu Chen shouted loudly and then dodged to the side. Only when he safely landed did he frown in contemplation. This time, he had underestimated the enemy. How could one be foolish enough to ambush a scout? Moreover, its defense was no less formidable than that of the Ghost Valley's death, which was a bit troublesome. Thinking this, he directed the Ironback Bear to continue. The large bear seemed provoked by him roaring loudly before charging fiercely at Lu Chen. Seeing the bear approaching him, Lu Chen smiled smugly. This foolish bear had good armor, but that didn't mean other parts were just as tough. Saying that, he immediately thrust his sword toward its belly. This time the damage dealt was much greater than before, and the bear collapsed on the ground, temporarily unable to resist. Lu Chen squinted at it, a faint smile appearing. Indeed, compared to the back protected by iron armor, the belly was softer. However, he couldn't celebrate for long as the bear stood back up. At this moment, its eyes were filled with murderous intent as it roared aggressively at Lu Chen. However, he was not frightened. He had already discovered its weakness. It was preparing to charge. Just as he finished speaking, a layer of iron armor began to grow on its belly. Seeing this, Lu Chen couldn't help but be astonished. How could it have this move too? Under Lu Chen's astonished gaze, the Ironback Bear suddenly rolled its body like a whirlwind toward him. He was startled and jumped up to dodge. The body of the Ironback Bear slammed into the back of Lu Chen, who let out a sigh of relief. That was too dangerous. But the Ironback Bear did not stop and continued to roll toward him. Lu Chen bit his lip hard, gritting his teeth and telling it to stop. He gripped his sword tightly, waiting until its body approached him. The sharp sword light began to dance in the air. Lu Chen struggled to withstand the giant body of the Ironback Bear, but its force was too strong, making it somewhat difficult for him. However, Lu Chen did not give up. Putting all his strength into his hands, he shouted for it to get lost. Then he pushed the giant body of the Ironback Bear away. Lu Chen's blow sent the bear rolling back, and he frowned slightly. The Ironback Bear rolling not only increased its force, but also its defense. Continuing like this would be too passive. He couldn't let it roll into a ball anymore. At this moment, the Ironback Bear had stood up from the ground, its eyes filled with hatred as it glared at Lu Chen. Immediately after, it let out a roar and charged at Lu Chen. At this point, he realized it had turned its back. This was a great opportunity to finish it off. The giant bear charged aggressively toward him, and Lu Chen dodged to the side. The Ironback Bear thus crashed into the air. Lu Chen kept his cool and thought, "It's done now, it's my turn." Immediately after, he fiercely slashed at it. The sharp sword light caused it to suffer a considerable injury. The Ironback Bear, in pain, glared at him, and before Lu Chen could react, it counterattacked again. Startling him, he stepped back. Then it stomped and leaped forward. In no time, it was right in front of Lu Chen. Seeing this action, he realized its intention to roll again. Lu Chen had figured out how to block its attack. He just needed to stab its spine. Without hesitation, he aimed his sword at the Ironback Bear's spine. If he stabbed down like that, it would never be able to roll again. The Ironback Bear's massive body was pierced by Lu Chen's sword, and it began to struggle under his feet. Looking back at its body, Lu Chen couldn't help but feel amazed. It had lived for so long, and even with a severely injured spine, it could still stand up. Lu Chen knew its intention was to counterattack, so he shouted, "You must be dreaming!" Then he swung his sword to stop it. The speed of Lu Chen's attack was so fast that the Ironback Bear couldn't react in time. It was necessary for him to stab this sword into the eye, causing it to suffer significant damage, and just like that, he was defeated, completing Tran's mission. Not only that, he also successfully leveled up to level 15 shortly after many items dropped from the Ironbacked Bear's body, making Tran very happy. The starting level upgrade also included a major stone armor and a mask. The rewards from the Ironbacked Bear were indeed impressive. First, he would change into the armor quickly. Tran had equipped the armor, which, although not as good as metal armor, was made of fine materials. However, it increased agility, which wasn't bad. Tran was very satisfied with it, as the change in equipment significantly boosted his strength and agility. Tran glanced over the remaining equipment that had dropped and couldn't help but feel that this mask was quite useful. Wearing this would allow him to leave Hanbang Kwang unnoticed. After completing the mission, Tran returned to Hanbang Kwang. As soon as he arrived, he shouted loudly to inform Faker that he had completed the mission, only to realize at that moment. In front of Faker, there was another person, and he was surprised to say, "You two are together." But it was fine. He could turn in the mission at once. Faker explained that he had known the swordsman Sullen for over 500 years. They often trained together, so Tran didn't pay much attention. He then extended his bony finger to Sullen, who accepted it and praised him for doing very well. Saying that, the two didn't hesitate to give him the rewards for completing the two missions. He earned over 4,000 experience points, more than 40 prestige points, and also received black stone. After that, he leveled up to 16. Tran looked at the rewards he had received, and his eyes lit up. He had obtained green leather gloves and a light fan, only missing shoes and arm guards to complete the set. At this moment, he had just leveled up and acquired new equipment, which significantly increased his attributes. However, he was still troubled by how to use this light fan. After thinking, he looked towards the swordsman Sullen and asked if this was a weapon for a strategist that he couldn't use and could perhaps trade. But Sullen shook his head and said it couldn't be done, but at the frozen bridge there was a market for humans. He could try his luck there. Tran frowned slightly. He wasn't keen on the idea, but with the disguise mask he could try using it. At the frozen bridge market, Tran entered wearing the disguise mask. From start to finish, No one recognized him, and he was able to trade the light fan for a pair of shoes and 11 silver coins, which wasn't bad. Just then, something suddenly blocked his path ahead, causing him to stop. Sure enough, a sharp sword came at him without any warning. The attacker was the assassin Kwang Long Nyao Kot, who squinted at Luke Tran's sword, blocking his attack, unable to help but be surprised. His reflexes were indeed as quick as the little white dragons had said. Yet he managed to block his attack. Luke Tran frowned at the person in front of him and said he wasn't familiar with the tram saw spear that he mentioned, and insisted he had mistaken him for someone else. Although he said that, inside he couldn't help but feel panic. He didn't know why he had been exposed by the Kwang Long Guild. Finally, Kwang Long Nyao Kot pointed at the sword in his hand. Even with the disguise mask hiding his ID, it was still too easy to recognize. In the entire frozen city, only he had it. At that moment, Luke Tran realized he had forgotten about Tan Tong Sam 6. While he was still pondering, Kwang Long Nyao Kot did something unexpected. He suddenly turned around and shouted loudly, 50,000 bounty, the Tramsa spear is the person in front of you. He even swore by the honor of the Kwang Long Guild. Luke Tran did not expect him to pull this stunt. Angrily, he scolded him for playing such a rude game. He calmly replied that as long as it was effective, it didn't matter how he played. Who cares how he plays? There is a bounty of 50,000 on him, and the group of Blackstone in front has begun to surround Lu Chen. The arrogant Long raised his eyebrows and smugly told Lu Chen to surrender. Lu Chen squinted at the group in front of him, his eyes showing disdain. To think they could take him down was truly laughable, and he immediately drew his sword. His posture clearly indicated he wanted to attack. The arrogant Long was on alert, knowing he was about to strike. However, Lu Chen suddenly turned and ran away, leaving everyone stunned. A few seconds later, he reacted and chased after this scoundrel who dared to play tricks. While chasing Lu Chen, he contacted his men to inform them that Lu Chen was running towards the Ice Crystal Canyon and to quickly gather teams 1 and 2 to ambush him outside the gorge. But the person on the other end said they couldn't mobilize anyone. Hearing this, the arrogant Long was immediately alarmed. The other person quickly explained that the phantom wind had wreaked havoc at their headquarters and the president had led the entire team to hunt her down. The arrogant Long couldn't help but bite his lip and curse, "Damn it, the deep sand strike hasn't been resolved yet, and now we have to deal with the phantom wind. There's no other choice." He had to instruct them to handle the phantom wind while he dealt with the deep sand strike alone. Meanwhile, Lu Chen had run to the nearby pine forest. The ice crystal path could be crossed through this green pine forest. He was now in the safe zone of the Ice Crystal Canyon. But man proposes and heaven disposes. Lu Chen sensed danger approaching as the arrogant Long had caught up. Without hesitation, he attacked Lu Chen with dual blades. Lu Chen hurriedly raised his sword to block pushing him away with force, while continuously cursing him for being a persistent dog. The arrogant Long snorted coldly and glared at Lu Chen. He scolded that Lu Chen's continued existence would harm the reputation of the Mad Dragon Society, so he had to disappear. Lu Chen glanced around but didn't sense anyone else nearby. He looked at him and asked if he was alone. Hearing this, the arrogant Long's alertness rose. He seemed ready to use a skill. Sure enough, as soon as he finished speaking, Lu Chen began to use the sword aura, and the sword energy started to dance in the air, creating a sense of danger that made the arrogant Long quickly dodge Lu Chen's sword energy. The scene was astonishing to Lu Chen. He could actually avoid it. But even more surprising was that suddenly another person appeared behind the arrogant Long. Lu Chen frowned slightly, wondering why that person was here. As soon as he said this, the arrogant Long was taken aback. The person he mentioned was who he turned to look behind and saw the Ghost Valley child who was also observing Lu Chen. Because he was wearing a mask, the Ghost Valley child didn't recognize him immediately. He only felt a bit familiar as he observed Lu Chen's equipment and the green sword. After a moment, he recognized Lu Chen, and in that instant of realization, he threw the wolf in his hand towards Lu Chen. The arrogant Long quickly jumped aside to avoid it, while Lu Chen calmly used his sword to slice the wolf in half. Anger flashed in his eyes. Yet another complication had arisen. With one attack failing, the Ghost Valley child charged in with a spear from the battle that day. It had been a long time since they last met. Lu Chen snorted coldly, telling him to stay away. He didn't want to see him at all. As Lu Chen spoke, he dodged his attack and the spear struck the ground. This caused rocks to fly everywhere. On the other side, the arrogant Long watched this scene in astonishment, realizing they had a grudge against each other. Thinking this, he quickly seized that opportunity to propose that the Ghost Valley child cooperate with him. However, the Ghost Valley child didn't take him seriously at all and struck him down with a spear right on the spot. The arrogant Long was shocked that the Ghost Valley child actually attacked. Weren't they enemies? Why did he attack him? But no one answered him, and he quickly lost his life. The Ghost Valley child looked at the person in front of him. The tone is filled with contempt for the battle of the strong who don't need that kind of style. The arrogant one, unwilling to back down, gritted his teeth and warned that the madmen would not let go of the Demon Valley Master. After he finished speaking, the Demon Valley Master basically didn't take the arrogant one's threats seriously. What is the mad dragon that dares to threaten him? At this moment, he glanced at Liu Chen and calmly said that the annoying insects had left and they continued. Liu Chen felt he was very annoying. Who would want to fight with him? But the Demon Valley Master had realized that you had leveled up, so you would definitely be stronger than him. He attacked Liu Chen again, looking at the energy-filled spear that was slicing toward him. You couldn't help but get angry and scold him. Do you not understand human language? Saying that you still dodged, but the speed of the Demon Valley Master was different from before. Much faster, he could surpass Liu Chen's arm. Seeing this scene, you couldn't help but be astonished. His speed had increased and you had to strike quickly to win. Thinking this, you immediately counterattacked. This unexpected action caught the Demon Valley Master off guard, and in an instant you slashed him with your sword. He lost quite a bit of blood, but Liu Chen didn't stop. The sword continued to strike down, and your speed was like lightning. You danced in the air, a phantom that the Demon Valley Master couldn't catch up with, so he endured the blows under your sword, biting his lip in frustration. Too fast, he didn't expect you to be faster than before. At this moment, Liu Chen kicked him away and his body slammed into the pine tree behind him. The Demon Valley Master was unwilling. Why had you put all your points into agility but still couldn't keep up? While he was deep in thought, Liu Chen continued to approach. By the time he realized you were right in front of him, he panicked and called out the demon armor, but it was too late. Liu Chen's absorption skill was activated, and the light purple energy enveloped your sword as it struck down, causing the damage the Demon Valley Master suffered to increase. This move caused him to lose his life on the spot. Liu Chen sighed. He finally dealt with it neatly, and then he withdrew. However, he hadn't taken a few steps when the Demon Valley Master resurrected. Liu Chen was a bit stunned. He revived too quickly. Should he continue fighting? The Demon Valley Master stared at Liu Chen and then spoke in a deep voice. This is the second time you have defeated me. And then he said this. He hesitated for a moment before shouting loudly, questioning whether you were a member of the Hall of Fame using a secondary account. Hearing this, Liu Chen couldn't help but be startled. Had he been exposed? But you didn't admit it, calmly saying, Are all PK victories from the Hall of Fame old? The Demon Valley Master was very confident in his guess, which could make him hallucinate and dodge immediately before returning to his original position. This maneuver could only be done by a minor illusion from the Hall of Fame. Liu Chen was slightly startled. It turned out he wasn't guessing about himself. You hurriedly waved your hand saying you weren't, and currently you were no longer a member of the Hall of Fame. However, the Demon Valley Master didn't believe it. He stubbornly insisted you were the bamboo illusion. He would never accept losing consecutively to an unknown person. It could only be someone from the Hall of Fame. Liu Chen frowned upon hearing this. It couldn't be. He reminded you of memories from that day. At the Unsurpassed Tournament Finals, while you were preparing your weapon, the discussions about who would win the final match reached your ears. They were all sure that the bamboo illusion would win. They even looked down on Liu Chen, saying he was just a kid who had recently switched from another game and got lucky to win. At that time, you were also angry, saying, Is it really impossible? But the truth proved they were wrong. You had won defeating the bamboo illusion. Therefore, you believed that nothing was impossible. It was just a matter of wanting it or not. But hearing this from you, Ghost Valley Master, is a bit shocking. Liu Chen ignored his reaction and continued to ask, Can everything really be determined just by equipment and level? Ghost Valley Master couldn't help but frown, wanting to retort but couldn't find the words. Liu Chen continued saying that leveling up and grinding monsters in the game isn't that simple. Just reaching the highest level like him doesn't mean he is invincible. The real opponents are the players. If he doesn't have the determination to continuously fight against players, he might as well give up early. Upon hearing Liu Chen's last words, Ghost Valley Master angrily criticized him, asking on what basis he said he lacked fighting spirit. Lu Chen shrugged indifferently, saying, well, who just lost to someone with a lower level and equipment than himself. He even used the excuse that the opponent was a member of the Hall of Fame to justify it. In the end, he was so furious that he couldn't even speak. Lu Chen was also too lazy to argue with him. After speaking, he turned around and left. He hurriedly stopped Lu Chen, telling him not to go. He thought that his loss to Lu Chen was just due to being in a bad state. He wouldn't give up. He was determined to win. Even if Lu Chen was a bit of a shadow, it wouldn't be an exception. Lu Chen sighed upon hearing this. This guy is really stubborn. He didn't turn back, but waved his hand, saying he looked forward to that day. But it would be best if he went back to review the footage. His state during the fight was indeed very poor. He played quite badly. Lu Chen's last words had a tremendous impact, making Ghost Valley Master watch his back as he left. After leaving the Gong Kong Valley, he opened the recording to see that it was just an old, tattered VR headset with a data transfer speed that was too slow. After a while, he finally entered the game. He wanted to see if it was really that bad, or if his state was indeed poor. He focused on watching the footage, and after a while, his expression darkened. At this moment, the video showed him farming, but his health had dropped significantly. He slapped his forehead and sighed, thinking he must be a pig. After farming, he only had 1/3 of his health left and was still in the weakened state of the ghost armor. Yet he charged straight in adding points to agility, but the increase rate was low and he couldn't even catch up to the opponent. It was a waste. A knight should still focus on adding points to health and defense. Forget it. Thus, he sat in front of the computer watching the recording. But the more he watched, the more he felt that Lu Chen was not human. He stood up from his chair and went to the board hanging on the wall, then began to jot down something. After a long time, he felt he hadn't missed anything before stopping. Above was all the information about Lu Chen, along with his own information and details about his 2 losses. He frowned at the information board and then muttered to himself, full force attack. Although the attack had the highest damage, it had too many openings. If the monsters figured it out, they wouldn't be able to take him down, and experts like the Shadow Strike would definitely be knocked out in one hit. Conversely, if he went into a defensive stance, he would gain the advantage. So when facing the Shadow Strike, he could only rely on health and defense to counterattack like a turtle waiting for the opponent to reveal an opening. He felt that this method would definitely be effective. His eyes now revealed a fighting spirit. He was determined to take down the Shadow Strike. On another front, in the residential area of Hanbang Quang. This is the resting place of the night spirit species, located in a coffin that can help the night spirit warriors reduce fatigue. Lu Chen had returned to this place. He couldn't help but curse, feeling a bit too sleepy. He had stayed up all night again. He prepared to climb into the coffin to log out and go to sleep. But someone deliberately didn't give him that opportunity. Ghost Valley Master had chased him to this place and ambushed him from behind. Lu Chen jumped into the air to dodge his spear, which struck the coffin behind him. Lu Chen angrily scolded him, asking if he had gone crazy. Breaking the coffin is a sign of divine punishment. The Ghost Valley Master squinted at him confidently, stating that he had studied the recordings and found a way to defeat him. This time he would not lose. Hearing this, Tran looked at him like an idiot. He really thought that just studying the recordings would allow him to fully understand him. If he believed that, then he should just try. Shortly after, the two quickly charged at each other to fight. The 2 sources of energy collided, creating a loud explosion. Before long, the Ghost Valley Master was defeated, while Tran leisurely sat on the tombstone drinking energy potions. He had indeed found a defensive counterattack strategy, but it was still lacking a bit. A moment later, the Ghost Valley Master revived again, looking at Tran with a triumphant smile, claiming he lasted 18 minutes this time. He still wanted to continue challenging Tran, but the result was the same. He was still defeated by Tran, then revived again to fight and was defeated once more. It was a vicious cycle. Even though he had downgraded, he did not stop. He continued this way, making Tran truly feel annoyed. This time, he did not just defeat him, but broke him. His spear ground his teeth, cursing him to stop already. The Ghost Valley Master had been reduced to level 15 by Tran, but he seemed to still be unaware of the issue. Tran aggressively kicked him, telling him to calm down. He was not a free training dummy for him to fight. If he wanted to keep fighting, that was fine. But how much could he put in? Hearing this, the Ghost Valley Master clenched his teeth and remained silent. The large graveyard was filled with thorny vines everywhere. Tran had come to this place to complete a mission. He had just fought against the thorny skeleton connected to the 13, looking at him, who was only at level 10, criticizing why he was leveling up so slowly while he was about to reach level 20. 13, feeling uncomfortable, said he thought everyone was a monster like him. Tran thought for a moment and suggested transferring him some money to buy equipment and health potions. He told him to level up quickly. 13, hearing this, happily issued a good person card for him, saying he would help update intelligence in the Ice City. Tran praised him and then hung up. Meanwhile, he was fighting against the thorny skeleton. He dealt a heavy blow, causing significant damage, but only received a minimal counter damage of 5%. Realizing this, his eyes lit up with delight, telling it to struggle before dying. Then he struck again, this time even more fiercely, and the thorny skeleton fell under this blow, and he had collected 242 thorny fingers, which was enough. The mission was completed, and he had leveled up to 20, which made him very happy. He opened the leaderboard to see it had changed a lot. Tran frowned, realizing that the Ice City was too fierce. He had reached level 20, but still hadn't entered the top 10. The Ghost Valley Master and the top 10 were all S-ranked, with 4 people in the top 20, and there were up to 9 people compared to a few individuals. This dominant group was the biggest rival of the ancient Sword Dream Soul in the future. He had to tell 13 to focus on investigating. Just then his stomach suddenly growled. He was a bit confused about what was happening. The system immediately issued a warning that his hunger level had decreased and he was in a weakened state. He should eat quickly. Tran trembled, falling to the ground. He had forgotten about this. After logging in, he seemed to have eaten nothing. The system continued to issue notifications. Tran bit his lip. Perhaps he would become the first player to die from starvation. There! In his hunger and thirst, he suddenly saw the grass in front of him. With no other choice, he had to pull a handful of grass, put it in his mouth, and swallow it. His body could only maintain a little bit now, but he felt this was very disgusting. But he had reached the end of the road. He could only eat it. At this moment, a voice suddenly came from behind him, asking what he was doing. Chen was startled. The voice belonged to a little girl. He quickly put on his mask and turned around to see. Behind him, he didn't know when she had appeared. A little girl in a cute pink dress with shoulder-length hair was holding a basket. Her name was Tran, a 6-legged human NPC looking a bit surprised. A little shy and stammering, but she was very smart and realized he was hungry. Without hesitation, she took out an oatmeal cookie from her basket and handed it to him. This was made by her mother, and she said it was very delicious. Chen nodded in thanks and then took the cookie, devouring it. This cookie helped him recover to normal. Chen was very pleased. Just one cookie had fully restored his points. Thinking of this, he suddenly raised his hand and punched the big tree in front of him, causing it to break in half. Tran, seeing this scene, admired him, saying he was so strong. Chen chuckled softly, saying it was all thanks to the girl's cookie. He then took out a silver coin to pay Tran, but the girl refused, saying a cookie didn't cost much. Chen frowned. If she wouldn't take the money, it must be a quest. Thinking this, he asked the girl if there was anything he could help her with. The girl shook her head gently, saying her mother was sick and the doctor said only white mushrooms could cure her. Chen was a bit suspicious. Did she want to take care of it herself? Wasn't there a quest? He hesitated and told the girl that there were many scary night spirits nearby. Would she be okay alone? The girl, hearing this, was not afraid at all. Her eyes were full of determination as she said she wasn't scared for her mother. If she could just pick white mushrooms for a month, her mother would be cured. Chen frowned again. A whole month. It must be a tough quest with rich rewards. If that were the case, he would have to keep an eye on it. Thinking this, he put a silver coin into the girl's basket and said that for the next month, she should bring him a cookie every day, considering it payment for the flour. Tran nodded slightly, then said goodbye to Chen and left. He squinted as he watched the girl's back, waiting to see if this NPC would be interesting in a month. On the other side, Guiguozi was checking his to-do list. After thinking for a while, he decided to buy supplies and then go fight a boss, but he hadn't even had time to leave. Suddenly, arrows tore through the air from behind him. He was startled and dodged the arrows, which struck the trees, causing them to explode. Guiguozi furiously frowned and shouted, "Who is it?" Immediately after a loud laugh echoed, Guiguozi looked back and saw Quang Long and his crew walking towards him. He glared at Guiguozi and maliciously said he had warned the Quang Long Guild would not let Guiguozi off. Hearing this, Guiguozi snorted coldly and then attacked, but his spear hadn't even reached the arrogant one before it struck a shield. He frowned and told the person to step aside. However, that person remained blocking the way. Guiguozi focused on the person in front of him and forgot that he was being ambushed from behind. His health was continuously dropping as the arrogant one stabbed him from behind. Guiguozi glanced back, his face filled with hatred. Meanwhile, at Hanbing, Kang Lu Chen completed his quest and received 3,000 experience points, 45 prestige points, a thorny roll, and a black armor piece. When he saw the rewards he just received, he was delighted. This time it seemed he had enough equipment. At this moment, Sulan continued to speak, saying Lu Chen's sweeping quest had been completed. Now he would take him to eliminate the super. Saying this, he immediately pointed his sword to the sky, summoning his troops. Immediately, a group of skeletal soldiers appeared. Lu Chen couldn't help but be amazed at this sight. The Death Knight could also summon large numbers. That was so cool. Sulan nodded slightly and asked if he wanted to learn. He would teach him. Lu Chen agreed, but they still had to complete the elimination of the super first. They quickly headed to the large graveyard. The steel skeleton army began to annihilate the soldiers of the super, being Lu Tran, using the Chu to take down a series of soldiers from the super, then aggressively shouted for the Rabbit Emperor to come out. As soon as these words were spoken, the armored skeletons in front could not help but be astonished. A moment later, the super appeared, leading his own army of armored skeletons, facing off against sullen Lu Tran and the skeletons. The super immediately ordered his soldiers to take down Sullen's group, and both sides quickly charged into battle, with soldiers from both sides falling in increasing numbers. The super looked at Sullen's soldiers, who were falling endlessly. Anger surged within him. The armored skeletons were no match for them. The summoned spirit assassin was utterly ineffective. To defeat the enemy, one must first eliminate the king. Thinking this, the super narrowed his eyes at Sullen, who was surrounded by the armored skeletons, then charged towards him, wanting to eliminate him. He fiercely swung his weapon at Sullen. Sullen quickly raised his sword to defend himself, and the super angrily questioned him about why he was still alive. The two sides quickly engaged in close combat, the sound of metal clashing echoing. The continuous sounds rang out as Sullen glared at the super. Not only was he still alive, but he was also just one step away from becoming a Sura. Upon hearing this, the super was immediately shocked. Sullen did not explain, waving his hand to retreat. However, at that moment, Lu Tran suddenly vanished into the ground, leaving the super astonished. Immediately after, he burst forth from the ground, using the Chu to attack the super, inflicting significant damage. The super, in pain, angrily cursed him fiercely, charging towards him with his sword. Lu Tran raised an eyebrow in provocation, then summoned a Death Knight. In an instant, a Death Knight stood in front of the super, taking a blow from him, which was very powerful. A single strike caused significant damage to the newly summoned Death Knight. The super glared at Lu Tran, questioning him about being a Death Knight. He angrily bit his lip, saying that the solitary Death Knight could not evolve into a Sura, unless it absorbed the soul of the fire seed from the fairy tale, but Death Knights were too rare. In the end, he realized why Sullen could do it. He was indeed profound at this moment. Lu Tran pointed directly at the super's face, cursing, "What about the Death Knight? You must have lost your mind?" The super merely snorted coldly twice without saying anything, then suddenly laughed loudly, asking him if he still didn't know. "Your good master wants to accuse Sullen." But before he could finish, a beam of energy pierced his throat, causing fresh blood to flow. Sullen appeared from behind. "Why are you still waiting? Hurry up and take action." Lu Tran nodded slightly, then charged forward, the sword energy beginning to dance in the air. The super was thus defeated, and he received 4,500 experience points, directly leveling up to 23. The items harvested were also plentiful. Lu Tran nodded in satisfaction. 2 bronze items were just 2 levels away from being usable. However, at that moment, the light purple fire spirits suddenly entered Lu Tran's body, leaving him astonished. He furrowed his brow and looked at Sullen, asking him what was happening. He calmly replied that he was old and no longer needed them. "You should absorb it quickly. If the fire seed soul dissipates, it would be a waste." Upon hearing this, Lu Tran understood and nodded, beginning to absorb the fire. After a while, he finally absorbed all the fire spirits. But he was still just a skeleton and could not evolve into a Death Knight. Sullen, hearing this, calmly said that this was the suffering of the Death Knight. Lu Tran frowned slightly. "Why is it suffering?" Sullen slowly explained that the Death Knight was a special type of undead. The ancestors of the Death Knights had stolen part of the power of the Sura to summon Death Knights and had been cursed. The evolution path of the Death Knight had no breakthroughs whatsoever. The starting point was the Death Knight, and the end point was the Sura. Tran skeptically asked, "Is there only an end point? What about the evolution path that my master once mentioned to me? What about the evolution path that the master once mentioned to you?" Shulan nodded slightly, fearing that you would lose faith. "This path is too difficult, unclear how long it is, with no direction, only a vague endpoint." He had given up, but he hoped you could succeed. Tran, undeterred, excitedly said that this was what made it interesting. Shulan nodded in satisfaction, looking at you. He knew he hadn't chosen the wrong person. Tran looked at him in confusion, somewhat speechless. On the other side, in the battlefield of Guiguzi and the Guanglong Association, although Guiguzi had taken down quite a few people, there were still many left, and he was alone, feeling a bit overwhelmed, as a fierce opponent glared at him, telling him not to push too hard to send him off a bit. Guiguzi snorted coldly, relying on himself. If it weren't for those troublesome archers, that guy would have been dead by now. Hearing this, the guy didn't back down, charging at Guiguzi with a spear. Guiguzi then used his ghost armor to defend, but that guy's spear surprisingly pierced through the ghost armor. Yangdai Qian White Tran had come as promised to wait for Guiguzi. While waiting, you opened the leaderboard to check. You finally made it into the top 10. The relentless Guiguzi had been surpassed by you, but it was already past 12 o'clock. Why hadn't he arrived yet, remembering that day? After you asked him how much he could invest, he replied that he could invest everything. Even if he gave it all to you, it wouldn't be regrettable. He had made such a resolution yesterday. Today was the first official training day. He wouldn't be late. Even private messages weren't replied to. You saw he had been online for quite a while. Yet he hadn't leveled up even once, which was quite unreasonable. Tran, filled with doubt, went to the World Channel to see that in the ghost forest near Hanbang Guiguzi finally couldn't hold on any longer. He was sitting against a tree surrounded by the Guanglong people. Gao Gu, looking at him, couldn't help but sigh. Indeed, a top 10 expert. His armor was shattered, yet he still held on. He was even trying to persuade Guiguzi to join the Guanglong Association. He would spare Guiguzi. However, Guiguzi was very arrogant, disdainfully snorting at his expression. Gao Gu was furious, cursing him for seeking his own death, then ordered the others behind to charge. The group immediately obeyed the order and rushed toward Guiguzi. However, before they could do anything, Guiguzi was already blocked by powerful sword energy. The speed of the sword light was too fast. They simply couldn't keep up and were taken down. Not a few of Gao Gu's men retreated cautiously, asking who it was. When the dust settled, the figure of the newcomer became clear before them. It was Tran. You stood in front of Guiguzi, glaring at the group, gritting your teeth, saying, "Who dares to touch him?" And they dared to move against him. Just as both sides were preparing to clash, a shout rang out. "Zhan Kanzhan Sha!" The Guanglong Gao Gu confronted, shouting, "Zhan Kanzhan Sha, you came at just the right time. I don't have to go looking for you now. I'll send you on your way." With that, he turned and swiftly retreated, leading a few people, including a mage and an archer. The mage was preparing to cast a spell, while the archer was drawing their bow, readying the battlefield to welcome the enemy. Zhan Kanzhan Sha's face was smug, hands clasped behind his back, indicating disdain. But in reality, he was pretending to be grandiose. "Ha ha ha, I dare to come alone. Of course I have my trump card for you to witness the special abilities of the undead." The swordsman then. He used a skill taken from Guiguzi's bag, 2 health potions. Guiguzi was somewhat surprised. "What is this? There's such an operation." Zhan Kanzhan Sha raised his sword to the sky, loudly proclaiming, "Great summoning the bone dragon of the Guanglong." Gao Gu looked up at the sky, extremely confused, wondering what was happening. But when nothing appeared, he immediately felt something was off. Turning to look back, he only saw a piece of wood. Zhan Kanzhan Sha had already run away with Guiguzi. Then the Guanglong people exchanged glances, astonished. They had been tricked. The mad dragon roared loudly, "Chase them!" At the same time, several members of the archers and mages behind him began to unleash their skills in an all-encompassing manner. 2 people were running as the bombs exploded continuously, lighting up the sky. The Ghost Valley was running for its life and shouted, "If this goes on, we'll be exhausted and die anyway. Let's go back and take the risk." The mad dragon shook his head and said, "Trust me, follow me." A bomb flew towards them, forcing the 2 to jump away quickly, or else they would be caught in the blast. Behind them, several mages and archers were closing in. The archers continued to attack them. The mad dragon shouted, "Don't stop, blow them up, use all firepower on those 2, are they limitless?" It's like they are using skills without any cost. The firepower and arrows were continuously raining down on the two, causing the Ghost Valley to scream in fear. "Oh my God, run!" The two grabbed each other's hands and ran forward. Bombs were still exploding behind them as they reached the patrol camp of the undead. It had already been attacked and blown to pieces with fragments of tents flying everywhere. The Mad Dragon, along with a group of members, pressed in closely, appearing right behind the two. "Ha ha ha, you have nowhere to run, prepare to die," he declared. The Ghost Valley turned around and said, "You have no way to escape." He raised his hand and laughed loudly, leaving the Mad Dragon utterly confused. "Call the undead patrol team here!" shouted the Ghost Valley. Immediately, a group of undead emerged surrounding the Mad Dragon's group, causing them to be both shocked and fearful. The Mad Dragon now realized they had fallen into a trap. "Not good, we've been tricked," the captain of the undead patrol spoke up. "Fortunately, the Ghost Valley brothers sent someone to inform us. We used earth concealment to hide from those humans." "You dare to raid our camp!" The Ghost Valley was astonished and exclaimed, "Oh my God, was this all part of the Ghost Valley's plan?" The Mad Dragon shouted angrily, "Ghost Valley, you despicable little man, I underestimated you." "Shut up, Ghost Valley! Don't listen to him! He wants to heal his brothers!" The Mad Dragon was furious, clenching his fists. "Ghost Valley, give him the magic spell." The captain of the Shield Warriors and the ranged profession was under the command of the Undead Patrol. The Ghost Valley ordered, "Understood." The Ghost Valley raised his sword and charged forward, rushing towards the Mad Dragon. His sword transformed into a crescent blade, and the Mad Dragon's offense and defense had now changed. Seeing him rush in, he braced himself with both hands. The annoying captain of the mages swung his staff to suppress the opponent, kill all these humans. The undead soldiers were fighting fiercely against the mages and archers, killing them all. The ones being attacked screamed in fear, "Don't come here, help!" The Ghost Valley was facing the little Dragon King, laughing triumphantly. "Ha ha ha, without archers and mages to support you, you're so weak." The Dragon King could only sulk in annoyance. The Ghost Valley did not hold back and unleashed his skills. "I told you I'll solo kill you in a few minutes." Behind the Ghost Valley, an assassin appeared. Seizing the opportunity to assassinate, the Ghost Valley shouted, and the Mad Dragon was thrown straight at the assassin, causing him to hesitate. The Ghost Valley was like an arrow. Suddenly, he dashed out as fast as lightning towards the assassin. He tossed a healing potion to the Ghost Valley, who thanked him for the healing. He thought to himself, "This is the advantage of team fighting." The Ghost Valley swung his sword, slicing through the waist of the Mad Dragon and the assassin, catching them off guard just as he was about to kill the Mad Dragon. Then a soldier appeared behind the Ghost Valley, thinking, "This is a great opportunity. Finally, I can kill him." "Die, you bastard!" The Ghost Valley had already reacted. He used his sword to block a dangerous blow, relying on his instincts. The captain of the mages, having just killed a mage, laughed loudly. "Ha ha ha, brothers, kill all these invading humans." Just then, a strike came through the mage captain, causing his head to fly off. He held the head of the fallen mage. Kwang Min is on an adventure with Feng Sha Xuan Tuo. One hand holding a skull, the other wielding a sword across his shoulder with a mask and a flowing cloak. He looks very imposing, quickly surprising and defeating other mages. Does the Kwang Long Association have such a master? The Little Dragon King is fighting against the Demon Valley Master, shouting loudly that Feng Sha Xuan Tuo has finally agreed to join Kwang Long, and you Demon Valley Masters are doomed. The Demon Valley Master quickly advanced fiercely, thrusting a spear at the Little Dragon King. "Even if she helps you, you are still definitely going to die." The Dragon King hurriedly called for help. "Feng Sha Xuan Tuo, come save me," the Demon Valley Master mocked. "Without anyone to help you, don't know how to fight." He just chuckled because he saw Feng Sha Xuan Tuo flying quickly toward the Demon Valley Master, thinking she would help him, but unexpectedly she glided past the Little Dragon King and struck. The head was severed. The Little Dragon and the Demon Valley Master looked on in confusion. Aren't they on the same side? Then Feng Sha Xuan Tuo turned and slashed at the Demon Valley Master. Both the Little Dragon King and the Demon Valley Master fell down. Tramcan Tramse was extremely worried about the Demon Valley Master. Tramcan Tramsa rushed toward Feng Sha Xuan Tuo, raising his sword to strike at her. "What do you really want?" Chunan Feng Sha Xuan Tuo spun around to dodge the sword. Taking advantage of the momentum, she spun around dominantly, using force to attack and slash right at the neck of Tramcan Tramsa. She was truly terrifying. With just one strike, she caused everyone to die in an instant. The ground was covered with corpses while she was spinning the camera to collect rewards. A message appeared. Demon Valley Master, oh my, this woman is too strong. She cleared everything by herself in no time. Tram Sa replied, it's just a coincidence. Anyway, everyone's blood isn't enough. If we don't leave now, we might forget to turn on the camera for the rewards and want to keep our corpses. He looked over at the Demon Valley Master and sent a message. Here near the Ghost Patrol camp, we revive faster. I'll count to 3. Let's revive together and kill her. Once done, retreat. The Demon Valley Master replied, we can't let her easily collect the bounty. The counting began. 1, 2, 3, Tram Sa signaled to revive. At this moment, Feng Sha Xuan Tuo was standing, spinning the camera to observe the Demon Valley Master and Tram Sa, who had just resurrected. The two of them almost simultaneously rushed in, launching the skill Chu Nan Min Hoa. Charging forward, Feng Sha Xuan Tuo's move created a huge explosion with black smoke rising thickly. The first attack's damage was not very promising. Feng Sha Xuan Tuo quickly dodged. She grabbed the spear of the Demon Valley Master, and Tram Sa immediately retreated, signaling for the Demon Valley Master to come here. She then directed the Demon Valley Master to use the skill Demon Armor 3 forms to block Feng Sha Xuan Tuo, who lost health, deducting 124 health points. The Demon Valley Master praised, well done. Feng Sha Xuan Tuo gritted her teeth and shouted, looking for death. Feng Sha Xuan Tuo angrily swung her sword to counterattack, but Tram Sa managed to retreat and avoid it. Even so, she still lost 89 health points. Tram Sa had dodged, but she was sweating profusely. It was too dangerous. The Demon Valley Master was not afraid at all. A desperate thrust came in. It hit. With this thrust, Feng Sha Xuan Tuo lost 221 health points, and she quickly stabbed back at the Demon Valley Master. A lowly scum dares to act so arrogantly, causing the Demon Valley Master to lose 246 health points. Tram Sa seized this opportunity to continue an ambush. He used speed and attack power to unleash a very powerful strike. Feng Sha Xuan Tuo's health was reduced by 125, and she was gradually losing her balance and falling down. She lay flat on the ground. The Demon Valley Master walked up resentfully, kicking Feng Sha Xuan Tuo. Damn it, aren't you supposed to be strong? How come you still got killed like this? Keep the corpse for a night and see how good you are. Tram Sa, with a serious face, grabbed the hand of the Demon Valley Master. Hurry up and withdraw. There are no ghost patrols right now. If the Kwang Long people revive, it will be troublesome. Notification displayed countdown timer for the Ghost Patrol revival, 23 minutes and 58 seconds. Tram Sa and the Demon Valley Master turned and ran away. No more talking, let's level up quickly. That's right outside at Hanbang Port Tram. Tram Sa has already killed several small monsters to level up. You eat the bread while Tam Nyen brings it to you, bowing his head to see what is happening with Tam Nyen. You look very sad, Tam Nyen. What happened that made you unhappy? The girl nodded, pointing into the distance, and replied, Big brother, there's an old man over there who seems to be injured. Can you help him? The injured old man Tram Sa has 2 bright eyes, so he should be fine. Please help me take care of him. Don't be sad anymore, Tam Nyen said, unable to hide her joy as she stood up smiling. Big brother, I know you are a good person. Tram Sa laughed heartily, thinking to himself, there's no mission notification, but checking it out is better than nothing. Deep in the wild jungle, Tram Sa discovered an old man sitting against a tree, lamenting, I'm about to die. The wild bears have been killing for days, and Joe has found me. With such a loud noise, he surely can't be dead. It turns out he is a wild hunter. Tram Sa stepped forward and asked in a deep voice, Sir, are you okay? The old man saw Tram Sa, who looked like a skeleton, and was terrified. Yes. Yes, spirit, don't come near me. Tram Sa bit his hand, realizing he forgot to wear his mask. Spirits and humans are not on the same side. After realizing he was a spirit, did he still give me a mission? After that, Tram Sa was determined to take risks. I can't let the mission slip away after it has come to me. Tram Sa knelt down, pounding his fists on the ground, pretending to be in pain, tears and snot flowing. Wah, you don't know that I was originally a small warrior of humanity. I went out to work and was bitten by a spirit turning into one, but I always adhere to the principle of rather eating grass than harming others. The old man felt sympathy for him. The old man stepped forward and patted Tram Sa's shoulder. Good child, whether human or spirit, having a conscience means you are a good person. Tram Sa nodded. Yes, I am a good person. But why are you injured here? The old man replied dejectedly, Oh, young man, I am the only hunter in the village. I came here to find some meat, but I didn't expect to encounter so many wild bears. As a result, I was attacked for 3 days. If you hadn't come today, I would have surely returned to the heavens. Tram can. Tram Sa shook his head and smiled. Don't worry, I will help you out of the forest. The old man's eyes lit up upon hearing this, grabbing his hand, extremely excited. As long as you help me out of here, I will teach you hunting and cooking skills. I am a well-known hunter and chef in this area. Tram Say also held the old man's hand tightly. Don't worry, I'll take care of this. Inside, he was overjoyed. 2 side jobs that others would envy. Here I can complete 2 tasks at once. Tram Say just leveled up to 25, immediately equipping new weapons and a new cloak, thinking to himself, I look pretty cool. At this moment, a notification appeared showing character attributes. Character attribute information. Name Tram Say profession. Death Spirit Swordsman, level 25, level 1. Attributes life, 575 magic, 355, strength 35, agility 16, level 2. Attributes attack 61 to 90, defense 80, movement 32, fame 264, magic resistance 49, attack, speed 32, luck 1. At the same time, the notification also displayed that your bounty has increased. My bounty has increased. At this moment, Duthap Tam called, Old Six, what are you doing? The bounty has increased to 80,000. You replied, 80,000, do you really want to kill yourself for money? Thap Tam replied, you can't do it yourself. Can you let me do it? You immediately agreed. That makes sense, so quickly, level up to 25. Let's take the reward right away. Duthap Tam said flatteringly. Hey, leveling up also needs resources. 6K, give my little brother a bit more money. Tram Sa shouted directly at Thap Tam's face. Didn't I just give you 15 coins? Is that all gone? Where did the money go? Duthap Tam explained. 6K, you don't know the prices in Fubang City. 1 full health recovery of 100 points costs 4 coins. Subtracting the money spent on equipment after 2 health recoveries, I'm out of money. Tram SA opened a skill and looked at the materials, questioning, 4 coins for that, is it really worth 4 coins? On the display board for cooking level 1 health recovery requires 5 apples and 1 jar restoring 100 health points. Level 2 rice ball requires 15 sticky rice, 5 chicken, and 5 salt. It restores 200 health points. Back at the headquarters of the Kwang Long Guild, Longhan Thien Ha angrily slammed the table and shouted, Twice already! Twice already the elite troops of the Kwang Long Guild have been wiped out by others twice. It's so humiliating. Tiu Long Vuong didn't dare to say anything more and replied, Boss, calm down. I've added the reward. There will definitely be someone who can't be killed. He will also grow tired of it. We will soon have good news. Long Han Thien Ha felt somewhat appeased upon hearing this. Let the people earn the reward to deal with them. Kwang Long Yao Kot sat beside saying, What about the restoration of Feng Sak Huyen Tuong? This woman is getting more and more outrageous. Before I followed your advice and didn't give her the reward, I didn't manage her anymore. Long Han Thien Ha coldly replied with a sneer, Let her be arrogant, I have arrangements for her. Transitioning to Pubang Square. A group of people were at the bustling market trading. One owner shouted, How much for this? Another person from afar called out, Precious magic stone, come and see. Tram Say, wearing a disguise mask, stood on the square shouting loudly, Don't miss out, 2 coins for 1 health recovery. There's also quality bear skin. He happily thought to himself, I have a hunting skill to directly pick apples. Saving 2 coins per portion is a big profit. The health recovery is 4 coins. How can they compete with me? A crowd passed by, immediately stopping to ask, Boss, how much did you say for the health recovery, Tram Can? Tram Sai pointed at the materials and raised 2 fingers. 2 coins for 1. Fraud fake compensation tenfold. After hearing this, people rushed over. I'll take 5 portions, give me 3, I was here first, I'll take 10. You immediately stopped everyone. Don't push 1 at a time. In just a few minutes, you earned a lot of money and happily looked at your bag with 400 coins. Just then, someone approached. Boss, this bearskin isn't bad. How much is it? Tram Sa looked up. Brother, you have a good eye. My bearskin is a level 2 material. The price I just quoted is only 2 coins for 1. You seem to know this person well. Ba Thien Dao, the leader of the Dakba clan, definitely has money. I need to make a profit from him. Ba Thien Dao was examining the bearskin when Tram Sa introduced, Brother, look, this is good bearskin. A good tailor can make 2 or 3 armors from 1 piece. The quality is not bad. Ba Thien Dao also acknowledged, Indeed, it's not bad. It's from a wild bear level 28, very hard to come by. Then he didn't say much and took out a bag of money, concluding with a phrase, "I'll take all of it," and extended his hand to receive the money, smiling happily and thanking the boss for being so generous. He secretly thought that indeed this foolish rich man was too easy to deceive. Unexpectedly, Ba Tiandao laughed and said something that left Tram Sa momentarily stunned. With 80,000 in rewards, he could still go to the market to sell goods. No wonder he is Tram Sa. Tram Sa took out the sword from behind to be cautious and asked, "What do you mean?" Ba Tiandao hurriedly placed the money in his hand, laughing heartily. "Ha ha ha ha, Tramcan brother, no need to be so tense. We are not enemies. I am just admiring your strength and courage." Tram Sa pondered for a moment, then, while packing up his belongings, he told the shopkeeper to close the shop and let the customers go home. Ba Tiandao smiled gently and continued, "Tramcan brother, no need to leave so quickly. It's our first meeting and I want to discuss a business deal with you." Tram Sa was a bit surprised, and Ba Tiandao explained, "I just saw that your apples are of very good quality. The others are not bad either. 1,000 portions of chicken rice, second-class food priced at you set 1,000 portions. Do you want me to work myself to death?" Tram Say emphasized, thinking to himself that the price was still negotiable. It seemed that Doc Ba not only had many experts, but also plenty of money. This rich guy could not be missed. He calculated a bit, then raised a finger to negotiate with Ba Tiandao, offering a maximum of 100 portions at the original price of 10 silver per portion. Now the price was 30 silver. Ba Tiandao nodded and immediately handed over 500 as a deposit. Tram Sa realized that he had set the price too low. The scene shifted to the wilderness where Tram Sa and Kwai-Kok-Tu had been training for a while. "Ha ha, Tramcan, are you scratching an itch for me?" Kwai-Kok-Tu provocatively said. Suddenly, Tram Sa carelessly dropped his sword. Seeing this, Kwai-Kok-Tu seized the opportunity and used Manhwa to charge in, intending to stab directly at Tram Sa. Tram Sa stood laughing. "So you were pretending to drop your sword, huh? That's clever." From the right side, a wild level 28 long Lin panda charged out and collided with Kwai-Kok-Tu, causing his skill to fail. Taking advantage of Kwai-Kok-Tu being controlled by the long Lin panda, Tram Sa calmly explained to Kwai-Kok-Tu that opportunities in battle are not always opportunities. They can also be traps. In a state of breakthrough, do not panic. Think calmly and make the most beneficial choice. Then he blocked the sword Kwai-Kok-Tu was using to fend off the bear that was trying to bite. He seemed to have realized something. Seeing the most beneficial opportunity, Kwai-Kok-Tu used Kui Jap Bathi to block the attack from the wild long Lin panda. Kwai-Kok-Tu was quick to understand. Tram had to give him a compliment for his quick reaction. He could immediately change skills to a defensive state, reducing damage. Kwai-Kok-Tu was still trying to control the bear. "What's wrong with this bear? Its level is even higher than yours," Tram Sa said while cleaning his sword, explaining to Kwai-Kok-Tu that this was a long Lin skull from a previous mission. "Transformed into me, I discovered that as long as I kill it, no matter the level, I can transform it into a summoned object. As the level increases, the summoned object becomes more beautiful." At this moment, Kwai-Kok-Tu had just finished dealing with the long Lin panda and immediately turned to aim his attack at Tram Sa, looking for a gap. Die! But he didn't understand how Tram could summon another undead bear. It was a large bear. Kwai-Kok-Tu stabbed the bear and sighed again. Kwai-Kok-Tu had to turn to focus on handling the second undead bear. He unleashed his Kwai-Thuong, cursing as he fought. "Damn it, this skill of yours is used on a summoned object all meat." At this moment, Tram had quietly circled around and jumped out from behind Kwai-Kok-Tu. "Don't forget, your enemy is not just one." A flash of light from the sword shot past Tram. He dealt Kwai-Kok-Tu a critical hit, and he lay flat on the ground, unable to win even once today. When Kwai-Kok-Tu woke up, he began to reflect on what he had learned over time. He had ranked second on the bounty leaderboard. The distance to the first place was still so far away. No wonder the slashing gale is truly unbeatable. A small bird lands on the hand of the Demon Valley Master, who looks at it and ponders, seizing the opportunity to fight and assess the enemy. The detailed technique of slashing gale is indeed teaching me very well. Although I lose every time, I still feel stronger and need to find a master to test myself. He stood up strongly, his face showing determination as the scene shifted to a dark water pond where a level 30 blackwater crocodile was being attacked by a group of people, the members of the Poisonous Tyrant clan. Led by the Poisonous Tyrant's warrior, level 24, the brothers shouted, "Blow it up! The boss can't take it anymore!" The Blackwater crocodile was being bombarded continuously and was about to succumb when the Demon Valley Master suddenly dashed out, stealing the kill with a critical strike that reduced the crocodile's health by 215 points. The Poisonous Tyrant group was left speechless, both surprised and astonished, as the crocodile fell beside the Demon Valley Master, who was cursed at by the Poisonous Tyrant's leader. Furious, the Poisonous Tyrant intended to charge forward, but the person beside him held him back, reminding the captain not to act rashly. He is the famous Demon Valley Master. He single-handedly wiped out several elite squads from other guilds. Ranked second on the bounty board, the Frenzied Dragon is about to go crazy because of him. The Poisonous Tyrant looked up at the sky and shouted, "Why do I have to meet this guy?" The Poisonous Tyrant knew his limits and threatened the Demon Valley Master, "Don't go too far, we come from the Poisonous Tyrant." The Demon Valley Master was visibly pleased. "So you are the Poisonous Tyrant, that's great. The Poisonous Tyrant seems a bit worried. What do you mean?" The Demon Valley Master looked directly at the boss-killing group and said, "You guys are my real targets." The members of the Poisonous Tyrant were visibly frightened and panicked. After a moment, the Demon Valley Master stood alone amidst the corpses of the Poisonous Tyrant squad, commenting, "No wonder they are the elite squad of the Poisonous Tyrant clan. Indeed, they are tough opponents." He clenched his fist in excitement, thinking to himself that he was truly getting stronger. The scene shifted to the commercial street of Pubang City at the food store number 1033. There was a bit of surprise as the shopkeeper Old Six asked, "Did you really write my name?" He casually replied, "Pubang City taxes players. Yes, Ling Cao is the owner, you can save some money." 13 was even more surprised to learn about the slashing gale. Tran unexpectedly had an additional profession. It turned out that he had two secondary professions, hunting and cooking. He gathered food himself, making it almost without capital except for seasonings, while the Ba Tian Dao had to pay a hefty price. "If I had known, I would have cried out loud," the slashing gale immediately retorted. "What are you crying about? This money is nothing to the Poisonous Tyrant. I told you to gather intelligence, didn't I?" 13 recounted the strength of the ancient sword Dream Soul, which was quite weak. The top expert of his guild still hadn't been seen online. The slashing gale fell silent, pondering for a moment. Then he spoke. "I need to level up quickly. I'll leave the food sales to you. If you meet someone from the ancient sword Dream Soul, remember to keep the prices low." 13 stroked his chin. "Don't worry about logistics. I'm already familiar with it." Old Six, "Should I give you my bounty money before leveling up?" The slashing gale glanced at 13's equipment, considering that no one would believe he could get the bounty money with his white blood equipment. After finishing his sentence, the slashing gale threw a black stone to 13. "Take this black stone first. In a few days, I'll exchange it for a set of black stone equipment." 13 accepted the stone with great joy. "Good brother, that's great." The scene shifted to the ice port, where a sky gate loomed ominously. On the ground lay a level 17 spirit dressed in rags, looking like a beggar sprawled on the ground. He had white hair and a dry, familiar face. As the slashing gale and Tram Sa walked by, they froze upon seeing him. Bowing his head, the Demon Valley Master shouted angrily, "Who did this?" The Demon Valley Master quickly messaged the slashing gale and Tram Sa, "Hurry, the Phantom faction and the Frenzied Dragon Guild want to wash the ice port with blood." After reading the message, he just smiled lightly. Washing the ice port with blood, that's quite a bold statement. Above, on the rocky outcrop, the Phantom faction had been waiting for the slashing gale for a long time. He glanced at her with a look of disdain. "Using blood to wash the Han ice port, that's quite a big tone, huh?" On top of the rock ledge, the Feng Sak Huyen Tu had been waiting there for a long time to cut through the chaos. He glanced at her with a look of disdain. The illusion of wind and color jumped down and swung her sword to strike at Zhan Khan, but fortunately he managed to block her with his sword, his sharp gaze questioning her attack. So what? He showed disdain, saying that being number one in the rankings and playing with the Crazy Dragon Guild was beneath him, and he swung his sword in a response that had nothing to do with her. While the two were fighting, the system sent a notification that the Ghost Valley Beast had revived. The Ghost Valley Beast sat aside quickly, contemplating how to deal with these two monsters. The illusion of wind and color continued to attack Zhan Khan, who was using his sword for defense without counterattacking. Suddenly, Zhan Khan summoned a giant bear at level 28. It was ready to attack that woman. It quickly knocked her back and attacked the illusion of wind and color, causing her to fall to the ground, losing 12 health points, 11 health points, and 8 health points. She was surprised, not understanding how the level of the summoned creature could surpass that of its master. As soon as she finished speaking, both Zhan Can and the spirit bear charged forward to attack her. She raised her sword, and a golden light emanated from it, looking very powerful while showing contempt. The summoned creature is somewhat interesting. Too bad it's just a dark creature. Zhan Can looked at her in astonishment, and the large bear beside him also paused. She unleashed a dazzling golden light that grew brighter, and Zhan Can raised both hands to shield himself in front of the spirit. The bear stood in front, shielding him from the blinding light, causing him to lose 421 health points. A warning sounded. You must endure the blinding light of the radiant dazzle. Your defense has decreased by 20%. The spirit bear was now just a pile of bones, its entire body burned to a crisp with no flesh left. Zhan Can was also stunned by this skill. The large bear was quickly killed, significantly reducing his defense. The radiant skill dealt heavy damage to the spirit, and she raised her sword to strike Zhan Can. Next is your turn. He also raised his sword to block her attack, looking down on her. Is this all you can do? She pulled out a card, which was a Froststorm skill card. The two members of the Crazy Dragon Guild, watching from afar, looked on in astonishment. Little Dragon King said to Long Hang Tian Ha, "The illusion of wind and color unexpectedly has a skill card. Isn't this something only bosses above level 35 have?" Long Hang Tian Ha thought for a moment and replied, "After all, she is the illusion of wind and color. It's not surprising that she has a skill card." After the card was revealed, countless shards of ice appeared falling onto Zhan Can, forcing him to raise his sword to defend against the falling ice shards, causing him to continuously lose health. Health points decreased by 24 health points, decreased by 25 health points, decreased by 31. The wind from the card was so powerful that Zhan Can was swept into the air with a cry, and the Ghost Valley beast nearby was also blown away. He silently cursed. Damn it, I only know that the skill cards of the domain system are powerful, but this is too overpowered. She gathered the ice shards into one place and commanded them to attack. Countless ice shards gathered and charged straight at Zhan Can, who was floating in the air. The Ghost Valley beast was trying to hold onto a rock to avoid being swept away. Seeing this, he shouted loudly, "Watch out, Zhan Can!" Suddenly, a purple light appeared, causing the ground to shake. The Ghost Valley beast seemed to have just escaped a disaster. Oh my God! Then a giant spirit lion appeared, shattering the ice shards of the illusion of wind and color. In Zhan Can's mouth, he was holding a skill card. He stood tall, saying, "I also have a skill card." The mighty lion roared, and the wind blew like a storm, sweeping away all her ice shards. The two members of the Crazy Dragon Guild were also blown away, with one holding onto a pillar for support. Long Hang Tian Ha suddenly shouted, "It's a ghost!" Both of them were astonished. What a skill! The illusion of wind and color with blue light and Zhan Can with purple light were fiercely battling each other, neither willing to back down. The illusion of wind and color contemplated Zhan Can's skill card. His skill card, after blocking the snowstorm, unexpectedly burst into a large flame when the two swords clashed. Her sword turned increasingly red and continued to heat up. Suddenly, she pushed her sword away, causing the sword of the Slashing Sky to strike straight down into the ground. Slashing Sky appeared pleased, abandoning his weapon, saying, "You're dead now." Then he used the technique Chu Ren to prepare to finish her off. She took out a knife to block Slashing Sky's strike, surprising him. While he was puzzled about the weapons in his hands, her other hand blocked her own sword. Then she executed the Lu Kuang Tram move, which seemed to have killed him, but unexpectedly he dodged. He thought to himself, "This is not good." He cursed silently. Damn it, if only I hadn't prolonged this fight, I wouldn't need to use the flame cloak to increase my evasion rate, but my vitality has already been depleted. After seeing that Slashing Sky had dodged her attack, she appeared surprised. "You dodged?" "No way." Unable to prolong the fight any longer, Slashing Sky quickly drew the skill card Tam Lam. A purple light appeared around him, and the game system announced, "You have used the Tam Lam card. Attack speed increased by 5%, movement speed by 5% effective for 30 minutes. Immediately after, Slashing Sky swung his sword horizontally, but she quickly retreated and dodged. Over here, two members of the Kuang Long Guild were watching, both still gripping the Little Dragon King's post, surprised. No way. The attack from the skill card could still be dodged. Long Han Thien Ha, standing over here, appeared annoyed and jealous, thinking that even a guild attack might not have a card like that. He had 2 cards after all. Suddenly, both rushed at each other. She stabbed Slashing Sky in the chest, causing him to lose 288 points, while he stabbed her in the stomach and she lost 175 vitality points. After that, both fell to the ground. Slashing Sky, unwilling to accept it, silently cursed, "Damn it, I didn't expect to die together." The radiant system counters the damn Queecock too, who was witnessing the entire battle from the side. Seeing both of them lying on the ground, he didn't know what to say. He expressed disbelief. This time was a real fight. Both sides were at their limits with no wasted movements. "Can I catch up to these two?" Just after they died, the notification appeared again, both revived. Slashing Sky shouted loudly, "Let's do it again, Chu Ren." Not backing down, she decided to go all out with Lu Quang Tram. Long Han Thien Ha watched amused. These two are really crazy. "A quick tell now, Cot, to bring people over here." The little Dragon King received the order yes, and then the system displayed that they kept killing each other over and over again, dying and reviving countless times. Finally, both dropped to level 17. Seeing the situation was not good. Slashing Sky laughed loudly, saying, "Ha ha, let's not kill each other anymore. Leveling up with anyone is not good." Breathing heavily, she nodded in agreement. Husband and wife should make peace. Queecock, too, standing beside them, spoke up. "You two have finally calmed down. Look over there." Slashing Sky turned around to see the rats finally showing their faces. The Quang Long Guild led a group of people moving toward them. Long Han Tien Ha laughed loudly. "Where's the fight? The battle between the two of you is too spectacular." Not wanting to miss a minute, Fong Sak Huyen Tuong brought a camera ball and said to Long Han Tien Ha, "You arrived just in time. The video kills are all happening here. As per our agreement, remember to pay the bounty and rental fee." Suddenly, Long Han Thien Ha broke his promise and smashed the camera ball, leaving her in shock. Queecock Tu and Slashing Sky stood there, eyes wide in amazement. Fong Sak Huyen Tuong angrily shouted, "What the hell?" Long Han Thien Ha arrogantly raised his chin, saying, "It's just a camera. You won't get mad over a camera, will you?" The fantasy aura made him blush with anger, wanting to rush over and tear that guy apart, Long Han Thien Ha. He teased, "Oh, right, you are here for the reward, ha ha ha. Unfortunately, my target is not just them, but also you, Fong Sak Huyen Tuong, relying on yourself as the top one to provoke the Quang Long Guild. We still want to retreat completely, huh?" Then he shouted, "You all must die!" The 3 people over there could only look at each other in confusion, while Fong Sak Huyen Tuong was extremely angry and cursed at Long Han Thien Ha. "You despicable little man, I should have killed you when you invited me to cooperate. Damn it, trash player Cham Can Tram Say invited you into the contact group, and Long Han Thien Ha continued to provoke, I invited you many times to join the Quang Long Guild. If you are indifferent to the path you chose, then don't blame others." Tram Can looked at her and nodded as if signaling something. The Quang Long group, standing far away, also didn't know what the 3 of them were planning, looking suspicious. The message board from the contact group lit up with Queecock Tu cursing Fong Sak Huyen Tuong. "You are really crazy. Look at the good you did harming yourself and others. Are you happy now?" Fong Sak Huyen Tuong also replied to Queecock Tu, "Do you want to die again?" "Tram Can Tram Sa, did you bring me here just for this guy to curse me?" Queecock Tu was speechless. "You two calm down now, is not the time to argue." Queecock Tu and Fong Sak Huyen Tuong were behind Cham Can. Can and Chi Chu were both extremely angry. Cham Can pointed directly at Long Han Thien Ha's face. "If you can't get it, then destroy it." "Aren't you afraid of this getting out and harming the reputation of the Quang Long?" Long Han Thien Ha also pointed back at Cham Can's face. "Ha ha ha, a madman who robs bosses and kills people all day. One likes to kill everyone who competes for quests to earn money, and another is a criminal with a sky-high bounty. Do any of you have a problem with that?" The contact group message now read, "Lecham Can Tram Sa, pay attention, we are all not yet level 20. Only through cooperation do we have a chance to win." Queecock Tu immediately agreed. "I hear you, Fong Sak Huyen Tuong also agrees to cooperate with you once." Long Han Thien Ha shouted loudly, "The video evidence for the reward I destroyed was the only one. The rest are those who quit the game to end this matter. Quang Long is for the people to eliminate harm." Then he ordered his subordinates to send them on their way. The subordinates immediately replied in unison, "Yes," and thousands of colorful arrows flew toward the 3 people over there. The arrows created a huge explosion that shook the sky. Long Han Thien Ha thought he had killed those 3. He laughed, self-satisfied. Ha ha ha, recording this scene to upload to the website. I must let everyone know the result of provoking the Kwanglong Guild. Behind him, arrows continued to be shot. A second huge explosion occurred. More shocking black smoke billowed everywhere. Suddenly, the three of them successfully defended. They immediately rushed out and shouted at that guy, "Don't mess up!" Each person continued to rush toward Cham Kan Tram Sa and Fong Sak Huyen Tuong, who were unharmed. The two wielded swords and flew toward the Kwang Long Guild. Long Han Thien Ha sneered with a disdainful expression. "You're dead and still flailing, let me little Dragon King show you," he shot out quickly with a confident tone. Another subordinate also rushed over with a knife. They are those three people. They were also rushing over at the speed of light. Cham Kan Tram Sa unleashed the skilled Chu Nan, while Fong Sak Huyen Tuong was not to be outdone, launching the Lu Quang Tram full of indignation. "Get out of my way!" With just 2 strikes, the 2 subordinates had already flown into the air without time to counterattack. At this moment, Long Han Thien Ha was tightly gripping his weapon. He cursed the 2 useless ones. "I didn't expect I would have to take action myself." He unleashed the fire flame skill, radiating a golden light around him, looking very fierce. "Damn it!" He rushed to slash at Kui Kok Tu, who quickly used his spear to block the attack, while Fong Sak Huyen Tuong and Cham Kan Tram Sa were flying beside him. He shouted loudly. Gui Gu Zi confidently replied, "Give me the Fong Sak Huyen Tu," and cut through the chaos, which had already flown past Long Han Thien Ha. He realized that something was wrong and turned to order his subordinates. "Everyone go protect the brothers outside." Gui Gu Zi saw him fighting with him and was careless. He was furious and attacked him, doing other things, not taking me seriously. He quickly defended himself against Gui Gu Zi's provocation, just waiting for your defense skill to disappear. "You are nothing but trash that can be crushed at any time." At this moment, Gui Gu Zi was holding something in his hand. He laughed loudly. "Ha ha ha, cut through the chaos for me a bag of chicken rice. My Gui Jia Bati can open all day for logistics like this, can you?" Gui Gu Zi continued. "There's one more thing. Your mad dragon only needs to protect from afar." He mocked while attacking him. Long Hang Thien Ha, upon hearing this, glanced to his left in surprise and exclaimed, "What the mad dragon pastor, the divine doctor, is being Feng Sak Huyen Tu?" Launching a bright attack, continuously slashing into him, causing him to lose 541 health points. He panicked and called for this woman. "Why is there a bright attack? Help!" The cut through the chaos also just slashed at the Mad Dragon's book soldier, causing him to lose 421 health points. He had no time to do anything but scream. "It's over. Level 17, how could he kill a level 25? Long Hang Thien Ha saw his subordinate being slashed and could only grit his teeth, staring intently in that direction while being careless. Gui Gu Zi saw this as a good opportunity and launched a bright fire attack, but unfortunately for Gui Gu Zi, this guy reacted very quickly. He had tightly grasped the spear of Gui Gu. He was dumbfounded, unable to understand how he managed to block it. He thought to himself that the sky was falling too quickly. The power of the attack skill was insufficient, and he immediately counterattacked, swinging a strike towards the Demon Valley Master, sneering, "You think you can hurt me? Get lost, you should just obediently be a meat cushion." Then he turned to continue commanding his subordinates. "Everyone attack support is no longer possible, just kill them." The Demon Valley Master and the Phantom of the Wind were still actively fighting, but the situation didn't seem promising. The Phantom of the Wind spoke up. "Their attacks are too strong. Think of a way to retreat." Just as the Phantom of the Wind was about to withdraw, he was pulled back by the Demon Valley Master, who reassured him. "Don't worry, we are a team, the Demon Valley Master. We just need to hold on. We are a team now." He unleashed the Demon Armor skill, creating a shield to protect all 3 of them inside. The Demon Valley Master signaled that the attack was about to end. "Prepare to counterattack," the Phantom of the Wind immediately agreed. As the attack ended, the Demon Valley Master and the Phantom of the Wind rushed out to fight against the group of mad dragons led by Long Han Thien Ha, who was furious at the sight. He threatened the Demon Valley Master, "Don't even think about winning." The Phantom of the Wind flew towards him, and Long Han Thien Ha said, "Your opponent is me." She swung her sword, aiming to slash at his shoulder, and he barely managed to block it, asking, "Do you want to die?" The Demon Valley Master was surrounded by the mad dragons, who were very arrogant, mocking him. "You walked right into this crowd. You really have no brain." "Die, Demon Valley Master." Upon hearing this, he just smiled wryly and pulled out a red card, the Firewolf Flame skill card. The mad dragon subordinates gasped in shock at the sight of the skill card. "Incredibly, he still has a skill card." The Demon Valley Master activated the skill from the card, and a golden light shot out. Along with that, a large fire was burning, consuming each of the subordinates of Long Hang Tian Ha, who saw the flames engulfing their group. He shouted angrily, "Cut them down! You are forcing my hand?" The skill card for the Horned Demon was activated, and he immediately took out a golden card with the image of a unicorn, announcing that he was using the Horned Demon card. The first attack had a 100% critical hit, the second had 200%, and the third had 500%. This skill card increased his power, and he swung his weapon towards Feng Se. Huan Tuo tried to resist with all her might, but she was still thrown back, only able to exclaim, "It's too strong." After finishing with Feng Se, he rushed towards Zhan Kan. Zhan Kan was already waiting for him, and just at that moment, Long Hang Tian Ha flew in to strike directly at him. He quickly stepped back to defend himself. Unexpectedly, that strike was so powerful that it broke his sword in half. Seizing the opportunity, he turned and continued to slash at him, shouting, "Die!" At this moment, Zhan Kan didn't know what to do. Surely this time, going for a boxed meal was a disaster. The sudden appearance of the demon shield forced his spear to only pierce through the demon Goku's shield, but the spear of Long Hang Tian Ha had shattered the shield, piercing through the forehead of the demon Goku, causing him to lose 418 health points. Zhan Kan behind him couldn't help but praise him. "Well done, Demon Goku." Long Hang Tian Ha and Demon Goku faced each other. Long Hang shouted angrily at Demon Goku, "Damn it, why are you everywhere?" Demon Goku was not to be outdone. "I am the meat shield of the team. Before I die, no one will fall." Continuing, Demon Goku thrust his spear straight into his stomach. This caused him to lose 110 health points, but he still shouted, "You think that rusty gun can kill me? Don't dream." Demon Goku confidently replied, "Now it's a fight. That rusty gun doesn't need to be powerful, just enough is fine." Long Hang Tian Ha, confused about what was happening, suddenly saw Feng Se Huan Tuo raising her sword behind him. "Die, you scum!" She used the flowing light slash, a streak of light cutting through the air. Her slash had caused Long Hang's head to separate from his body, causing him to lose 522 health points. Thus, he fell body in one place and head in another. Demon Goku patted Zhan Kan's shoulder and laughed loudly. "Ha ha ha, so satisfying, it's great to fight as a team." Zhan Kan agreed, "That's right." Feng Se Huan Tuo just hummed in response, and around the three of them were only corpses. The scene shifted to a wild jungle. Feng Se Huan Tuo, feeling exhausted, asked Zhan Kan and Demon Goku, "Are you offline yet?" Zhan Kan was also resting under a tree and replied, "Yeah, today was a big loss. We lost a lot. I need to level up now." Feng Se Huan Tuo coughed and then asked, "By the way, what province are you in?" Zhan Kan replied, "I'm in City S." Feng Se continued, "Me too. Can we meet?" Zhan Kan agreed to the proposal but also set a condition. "Sure, but you have to show me what you look like or forget it." "I can't show my real face," Feng Se Huan Tuo said, and after a moment of contemplation, she replied, "Okay." Then she raised her hand to her face, preparing to remove her mask. Tea House Ngan Sam, a small cafe in the center of city Luke Tran, where Zhan Kan was scrolling through his phone while waiting for someone. It was almost 3 o'clock, but the person he was waiting for still hadn't arrived. At that moment, a delicate voice suddenly rang out along with a cup of coffee placed on the table, startling him to look up. In front of him was a strange girl, but the people around knew her and continuously discussed her. Through their words, he learned that this girl was named Lam Gyat Han, the beauty of University S. Zhan Kan frowned slightly, murmuring the name Feng Se Huan Tuo. Lam Gyat Han then sat down in the chair opposite him, and he immediately knew he had guessed correctly. Unable to resist teasing, he thought this must be some kind of plot. Lam Gyat Han then sat down in the chair opposite him, knowing he had guessed correctly. Unable to resist teasing, he thought this must be some kind of scheme. Lam Gyat Han chuckled softly, awkwardly, explaining, "This is my apology. The previous incident was because of my greed, which was exploited by the Mad Dragons." She shook her head, refusing to give her opinion. "It's all in the past. There's nothing wrong with acting for a reward of 10,000, but she didn't need to take them down 10 times. Mentioning this made Lam Gyat then even more awkward as she quietly said, "The first time was indeed for the reward, but taking them down several times was actually to vent my anger." Luke Tran frowned. Lam Gyat Han continued to explain the previous incident, where she had accepted a mission to eliminate a patrol team of the undead preparing for 10 hours. Unexpectedly, Tran and the Demon Valley Master led the Mad Dragons to battle against the patrol team, ruining her plan. It was a level D mission, and in the end she received nothing. When she intended to take the reward, he had taken her down instead. The more she spoke, the angrier she got, her face turning red. After listening to her complaints for a while, Tran just smiled wryly and said, "They've had enough already." He then asked her what she wanted to talk to him about, but inwardly he cursed, "This girl really holds grudges. In the future, it's best not to provoke Tran." Hearing his question, she didn't beat around the bush anymore and went straight to the point. She wanted to form a guild and wanted to invite him to join, as he was once in the top. If the top 1 and top 2 cooperate, everything will go smoothly. However, as soon as this proposal was made, Tran immediately refused. He would not join. Lamdan Han could see his determination very clearly. There was no coercion. After all, they had fought together, and not joining didn't mean they couldn't be friends. Tran had no problem with that, and then asked her, "Surely you don't just want to deal with the Mad Dragons, right?" Right. Lam did not hide what the Crazy Dragon was. Her true goal was to dominate the sword of the Crazy Dragon, and when Lu Chen heard this, he couldn't help but smile faintly in interest. The two talked for a while and reached an agreement before leaving. The next day, the two Shi-san and Lu Chen were packing their things. Shi-san asked him about meeting Lam Ji-han yesterday, worried that he might be seduced by her. Suddenly today, he was looking for a place to set up a studio. Lu Chen shook his head slightly, putting the key into the room in front of him, slowly explaining that he originally planned to establish a studio when playing Lin Do. Unfortunately, after moving to Tiantung, he kept running out of money and couldn't afford to rent an office. But after taking down the president of the Crazy Dragon Association, he had money now. Therefore, Lu Chen was very grateful for the reward from Crazy Dragon. The two slowly entered the room, glancing around. Shi-san was quite satisfied. This place was good. He then asked Lu Chen what to do next. Lu Chen stated his goal to recruit the first member for the studio. Hearing this, Shi-san's eyes lit up. He wanted to know who Lu Chen would recruit. He suggested Feng Se Huyen too. But Lu Chen shook his head, saying that Lam Ji-han was not someone who could be easily invited, and moreover, she already had her own plans. Shi-san frowned slightly, wondering who could be invited. They couldn't invite a rookie. But Lu Chen nodded, smiling mysteriously, saying that one rookie was enough for every studio. Shi-san knew he was referring to himself, snorting coldly, then asked who he really wanted to invite. Lu Chen chuckled softly and mentioned a name. Of course, it was Gui Guzi. As soon as this name was mentioned, Shi-san was shocked. This was a top 10 level on the wanted list, only ranked below Lu Chen. He really could invite him to the studio, and Lu Chen was very confident. He patted Shi-san on the shoulder, telling him to relax. This afternoon, he should take a good nap, and by evening, they would proceed to the next step. That night, Lu Chen logged into the game at the Hanbang graveyard. He texted Gui Guzi, asking him to come over if he wasn't busy. Gui Guzi quickly replied, asking what was up. Lu Chen told him he had good news, and he responded that he would come. Gui Guzi was a rare expert. Although he was currently far inferior to Lu Chen and Lam Ji-han, he was still a top gamer capable of handling ordinary elites by himself. A little while later, Gui Guzi finally arrived. He went straight to the point, asking Lu Chen what was going on. Lu Chen called him Little Ghost, and then asked if he had ever thought about which association to join in the future. A moment later, Kui Kok Tu finally arrived, and he went straight to the main issue, asking Tran what was going on. He called him Little Ghost, and then asked if he had ever thought about what he would join in the future, which group he would join. The Demon Valley Master suspiciously asked him what this was all about, to which he straightforwardly replied that he had just established a studio and wanted to invite him to join, with the location being the S new district of the city. The transportation is convenient. There are private rooms and meals are provided with unlimited food. The Demon Valley Master frowned slightly and arrogantly stated that he was a top-level player and that many people sought him out. Why should he join your studio? He chuckled lightly and directly asked him if he wanted to become a top expert. The Demon Valley Master nodded without hesitation. Of course he wanted to. Then there was no problem at all. As long as he joined Lu Chen's studio under his guidance, this matter was completely within reach. Upon hearing this, the Demon Valley Master agreed to join and promised that one day he would defeat Lu Chen. After saying that, he left. Liu Chen watched his departing figure helplessly sighing, wondering why everyone seemed to be targeting him.